Hey everybody, this is High Shelf Gaming. We're gonna play some AGON tonight. You all probably already know us, so we don't have to do all the introductions. You all know what's up. Um, Announcements, things going on. Monday morning, not morning, God, Monday night. Katrina is gonna kick off our Shadowrun game, which is gonna be dope.
Monday morning, I'll be planning our Shadowrun game,
You're like,
and
I should come up with a game.
Monday afternoon, I'll be panicking about our Shadowrun game.
Yep.
So
I foresee a lot of panicking happening.
And don't worry, 15 minutes into the Shadowrun game, we'll be off the rails doing random stuff that you would have never even had an opportunity to plan for, because we will have killed a taco vendor and begun like turning that taco stand into a franchise.
I was gonna say, if there's one thing I know about this crew and when it comes to food, is that we tend to hire those people and keep them around for a while.
You have to give us a lot of beloved food vendors.
Yeah, so I'm not so worried about the food vendors.
The thing though is that Katrina's got this planned out, is that if any point in time we go in a direction and she's just completely unprepared, she's just gonna have somebody throw something at Rich. And no, from that point forward,
or Casey.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I mean, like you know you got Casey in this game, right? So it's just
Casey
whatever.
And Rich.
Yeah, like you know how to
Casey's
make things happen.
Casey's easy. Just like
you know that. You've pushed that button, David.
It's so easy.
Like if David had a stream deck, there would be a like Casey button. It would just be pressed like every 5 minutes in the game.
Taunt Casey. Make fight happen. Taunt Casey.
No, that's the same button. That's the same button.
Same button, yeah.
It's all rolled in. It's a macro. You got your macro set up.
It just taunts him, and then like 5 seconds later, it already starts rolling initiative. It's like, we already know what's up.
Every DM needs that player, though. You need that person in your group that you can use to help move things along in the direction you want.
Yeah, if nothing else, Casey is a great content generator. We do have a lot of fun with that.
We like to call that content generation.
Yeah. They're not mistakes. They're content.
That's right.
So, Monday night is going to be Shadowrun, first episode of Shadowrun. And Wednesday night will be Brindlewood Bay, again, as our marvelous mavens begin their second mystery. Could be a murder, could be a petty theft. I don't know.
Marvelous mavens.
It's probably a murder.
Yeah.
It'll be the petty theft of like someone's life.
Right.
I'm pretty sure they're all murder. It's murder all the way down.
It's not petty
I broke
theft,
into my candy store and stole candy, and now he's dead in the bay. Yeah,
there we go. What is it about this candy? What's so great about it? I don't know. It's got that.
Why are there so many deaths in this town?
We hadn't had a murder in 5 years, and now we've had 5 in 5 minutes.
It reminds me of like The Simpsons when Homer makes a militia, and they like their favorite weapon is a bag full of like doorknobs, and it's like crime is down 30%. In an unrelated news, like doorknob related beatings are up 9,000% in the town. It's like, uh-oh.
I think it's so funny because like there's all these like things like, oh, you don't have to have guards in your fantasy setting, right? Like if it's a small enough town, everybody takes their shift as guard because that's all you got. You got like 10 people. Everybody gets to do their shift.
And it's like, and then like the guards, so it's not like, well, that's not the town guard. That's like Frederick. You went to school with Frederick.
Yeah, like he's the butcher like 5 days a week, and then he's doing his weekend job as one of the town guards. Right. I was the town guard 3 days ago. Like it's all good.
My sister dated him. I know that.
Yeah. And then the party thief is like, oh really? I didn't know that, as they're like pilfering all the things off of Frederick.
Totally didn't murder that dude and toss him off a cliff or something. Like
just weakened to burning this whole situation until Frederick goes to sleep for the night.
Oh no, something horrible's happened in the night.
Just died to sleep. God, with all those stab wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Why does this terrible luck follow us from town to town?
Just spontaneous guard death.
So AGON tonight. I think those are all the announcements that I got going on right now. So AGON, Ethan, take us away upon the oceans of I don't know what land we're in.
It's it's a sea. You know that it's water. You know that it is presumably a sea. Probably not the one you left on, because the constellations aren't quite right. But speaking of, you all are there now. It is we'll say it's probably morning. I think typically like all the sacrifices and things like that we did at the end of the session last time tend to happen at night, so that you can see the stars and so you can know kind of what's up. And there's this like stardust that goes in between these constellations that kind of guides you from island to island, because you have no other way to navigate. Like you just kind of have to follow it. And just to review, I'll pull up the strife sheet really quick. You all received 1 wrath with the goddess Artemis for leaving the Serpent of Nemos alive and unhunted. Yeah. But you received 2 favor with Apollo because you restored Apollo's temple and you got rid of the cult, and you did so in a way that allowed the alchemists to continue their work.
So just as a question, is it, and this is just metagamey player business here, is it like every island we're probably going to get a wrath from one of the gods? Is that
Not
kind of
necessarily
the deal? Okay.
So it kind of depends on the situation and how opposed the god's wishes are.
Okay.
Because like you might have them be extremely opposed, but you might find a way to where you're not really going completely against them. You're just kind of like,
okay,
I'm just gonna steer clear of this one while accomplishing this one. And so not everything's worth like a wrath necessarily.
Okay. Well, I just want to know if that was part of the economy of
it is a little bit though. Like you do have to, if you're not careful about it, you can accrue a lot of wrath really fast. Because if you get like kind of tunnel vision on like one god's sign, so it's another one of those like ways that the narrative kind of manages itself. Because you have this goal of fulfilling the signs of the gods and the will of the gods. It's like, all right, you have your kind of like bumpers on your.
Thank you, John Harper. We're trying to stay under certain wrath levels this early in the game.
That's right. But yeah, I think we'll go ahead and jump in then with our leadership contest, because we left that until this time. So I think for this leadership contest, I want you guys to kind of call out something that you all see while at sea between islands. What catches... anybody can throw one out, but just what catches your eye as like something worthy to determine leadership? And how do you kind of get the crew excited about this contest?
Let's see here. What about like we're drifting along following the stardust, and there is a little atoll.
Okay.
Like a tiny, not even an island, but just a small rise of sand. And in that atoll is like a pike with some kind of banner.
Okay.
Waving off of it. And one of us spies it and calls out that there's a sign or some kind of offering to us.
Yeah.
The first to retrieve it and bring it back to the boat.
Okay, great. Yeah, sounds good to me. So since Great Hunter Xenon is proposing this contest, what kind of contest do you think it is?
I think it is a I would think either blood and valor or craft and reason.
Okay, I'm cool with either of those. So I'm just gonna go ahead and label this kind of any domain, just sort of justify it, whichever one you pick. But I think, I think those two kind of sound the best. Unless I could even see Resolve and Spirit. I think Arts and Oration is kind of the one that feels a little far fetched to me. But Yeah, so our target number here is 6. It's a leadership contest, so there's no strife modifier really, and it's just 2d6 on my part. Yeah, and so now who will face this challenge for leadership of the crew?
Iron-minded Macaria will take this challenge.
Okay. Yep, and Great Hunter Xenon.
Absolutely.
Hilarion will, because he did an amazing job at the last place. We won, obviously, due to his great leadership. So of course he's going to take this on.
Sorry, run for re-election. It's like
Yes.
it worked so well the last time. You already know me,
You're not going to defeat the incumbent. I mean, come on. I'm already well established. My name is out there. Most people just vote for the same person every year anyway. You already know.
Yeah.
I have your saying on a hat. I mean, of a particular color.
Too far.
Too recent.
Yeah.
Purple, right? It's a purple hat. It's
okay.
Of course it is. It's me.
And mini Wade Phaedros will Phaedros participate?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Excellent. All right. So gather your dice. Or if you're using your epithet, you can add that in. Again, I don't really recommend using any expendable resources in like contests between islands because like typically the stakes aren't that high, and you should probably save that stuff for your bigger like your battles and things like that.
Sure.
But yeah, for sure, if you can get your epithet in there, and stuff like that, for sure.
And you said this was craft or resolve in spirit.
It could be any domain pretty much, as long as you can sort of justify it. But none of you really picked arts and oration as your favorite domain, so probably not that one. Okay, we've got Xenon and Macaria in, both prevailing. So far, Xenon is best. We'll see how Phaedros and Hilarion do. Oh, and they suffer. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, so let's set the scene a little bit. So you have spied this atoll probably at some distance. Like you can kind of see this banner kind of waving, kind of not quite the horizon, but it's in the middle distance, a good ways away. So there's a good way to swim, and then you have to choose: are you going to run around the atoll to get to the pike and the banner, or are you going to swim through? And then who knows what's in the middle? Who knows what lives in the middle of this little atoll? Nobody knows. So yeah, I think we'll start with Mini-Wade Phaedros. Recite your deeds.
Mini-Wade Phaedros tries to make his way there. He does try to do, like we're saying, like, I'm just going to swim like the whole thing. But there is like a little lagoon as part of that. And as he enters the lagoon, he finds out that lagoon is where there's like some sort of like squid thing. So like he's on his way and he's headed there, and then like he gets sidetracked by like this other thing that like he has to fight off his leg.
Yeah, gotta fight it off, do a little combat. Yeah. And then some of the crew kind of yell out, it's like, child of Charybdis or Scylla, one of those. I can't remember which one's which, but I think both of them kind of have some tentacular element to them, but
so we see these tentacles coming up, grabbing Phaedros, and Phaedros is like stabbing at it or something like that.
Yeah. And so they're all halfway between cheering and like fear, but mostly the cheering, because they're like, this is fine, they'll be fine. Like they're not in danger. These are our heroes. Nothing bad can happen. This is just this is just good TV.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to Boulder Lake Hilarion, who also suffers.
Hilarion was swimming straight for this thing, and he was leading the race. I mean, he's gonna win, and then he heard something about a fight, and got a little distracted. He's like, I've got this. Like he had like gotten to the atoll and climbed up onto it, and then it's like turns around to like hold his arms up, and he sees Mini-Wade Phaedros fighting something over there, and it's like, ooh, shiny. And he has gone in that direction now. He forgot about this thing. It's not important. whatever it is. Who cares? We're gonna go fight the thing. There's a big monster over there. We have to go fight the big monster.
Great.
So he has left where he is and charging.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So that brings us to, so now we have two of our heroes who are fighting off this, perhaps it's a squid, octopus, something in between, something mythical,
some beast, some great beast
of the sea. Yeah, so that leaves us with Iron-Minded Macaria and Great Hunter Xenon that both arrive onto this atoll. And you all still have your eyes on the prize. So, starting with Iron-Minded Macaria, who prevails but is not quite best. Recite your deeds. What occurs?
So Macaria had swam the distance and through the lagoon, ignoring the things that have distracted the others. And through her iron-mindedness and resolve, she has managed to hold her breath this entire time. Until she reaches the shore of this atoll, wherein she makes it almost there, but is perhaps maybe a wing's length behind the person that will end up leader.
Yeah. And so that brings us to Great Hunter Xenon.
So, yeah, Xenon was also swimming with everybody along the way, but through kind of my instincts as a hunter, I realized that this island was a trap. That there were the markings of some sort of creature lying in wait. But we're all swimming, and there wasn't really the time for us to communicate about this. So Xenon went to the northern end of the island where this beast was not guarding, right?
Yeah.
Was able to get on land and heaves the pike up out of the ground and uses it to stab down onto the creature's back as it's fighting our two heroes. And then hefts it out, and it's covered in gore and blood and this like ink, this black ink everywhere from this creature. And Xenon hefts it into the sky where Typhus swoops by, snatching it into its talons and carries it back to the vessel.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, and so the pike and the banner are delivered. This creature sort of sinks below the waters as it's defeated, and it's strange because as it sinks, the water of this little lagoon kind of turns black and inky, and it resembles in like a way that is significant to you all, kind of just a large eye in the water for a moment. And like the sand, like you can see, kind of has like almost a bluish tint to it. So it's this pale blue eye in the middle of this ocean, that is kind of just there. And it's significant to you all, but you're not sure kind of for what reason. But perhaps it is a sign of something. And you all return to the ship.
Is there a god that is known to have a big blue eye associated? Is it like the Titan or something like that?
Yeah, this doesn't really ring to any, or
Specific
it doesn't remind you of any specific god. This particular one, no. But yeah, you all return to your ship. The pike has kind of been set up as like to show the banner. The banner is how did you describe it, David?
Yeah, so I think it was like a pike in the ground, and where the rear like handle is, there would have been this like streamer kind of thing hanging off of it. So it would have been like it's probably like faded with some like stains on it from either sweat or blood or just gore.
Yeah.
And it's tattered. Clearly, it's been in war.
What color is it?
I want to say that it used to be like this white with like a yellow trim around it, but the whole thing is like stained and brown at this stage. But you can tell that it used to be quite illustrious.
All right, great. And so that means that Great Hunter Xenon, in addition to receiving 6 glory, will be leader on the next island and be responsible for kind of deciding your all's approach to the strife of the island, as well as interpreting the signs of the gods. Of course, unless any of you decide to use a bond to sway Xenon's thinking. Yeah, and so Macaria will receive 3 glory for this, and then Phaedros and Hilarion both receive 1 for trying. Okay, great. So that resolves that, which means now we move on to the actual sort of island here. So after not too long after that, you all sail on for a bit. It gets sort of into like a late morning. And the weather is the clearest it's been in maybe weeks, days. You're not sure. It's kind of hard to tell when the mists surround you for so much of your journey. But the weather is perfectly clear here, and you can see the mists sort of in the distance, but they're also almost on the horizon. They've receded quite far. And the island that sort of rises on the horizon is it looks cold and rocky. There are sort of snow-peaked mountains atop it, as well as you can see that there are like caves in the mountains that have like structures built around them, and they give the appearance of mines. And the other thing you notice is that on sort of the other side of the island are these big spires of rock that sort of stick above the clouds. Like the few clouds that there are, these spires rise far above them. Almost look like teeth coming out of the ocean. But one of the crewmates sort of approaches you all as you're surveying this island. It's like, well, based on the amount of mines I see on the island, could this be the fabled island of Kryos? It's famous for its gold mines, but it's also famous for its storms, and the weather is surprisingly clear. And in addition to that, you also see that there is a ship kind of out at sea a ways. That's not really, it's just kind of sailing. It has no flag raised currently. But it's just sort of, it's a ways out from the shore. Yeah, and as you all arrive in the sort of dock, like the, what do you call it? Like the pier, I guess, where you would park your ship, or, dock it, tie it up. Again, the gods reveal their signs to you as you arrive on this island. The first thing that you notice walking into sort of the customs area, right, where things would be loaded and unloaded and merchants kind of figure out what's coming in and going out. You see that there is a pure white peacock. All of its feathers are white, but what isn't white has kind of this gold sheen to it, to make up kind of like the eyes on the tail feathers and things like that. And you can see that it is walking through the town and that there are several priests behind it in similar white robes with gold trim that are kind of bowed in prayer. And they're following this peacock. And Xenon, you recognize this as a sign of Hera, the queen of the gods. And that's because her sign is a sacred peacock that is leading the pious to restore what is lost. The other thing you notice is that in the area close to the island, kind of in the water, you can see that below it and like slightly sticking out of it in some areas are pillars of stone, but these are man-made pillars that look like they have been sort of destroyed by the elements. And you know this to be the sign of Zeus. And that this particular sign is the works of man sort of brought low and destroyed by, the elements and by the natural world. And the last thing you notice is that one particular merchant has sort of this pile of riches that he's going through and cataloging. And you see that on top of this pile of riches, there is a black feathered raven that sort of sits atop these riches and then kind of turns and looks at you all and kind of gives a squawk. And you all recognize this to be the sign of Hermes, the god of thieves. And the impression you get from this is spoils to those who deserve them. And those are kind of your three signs as you arrive on this island.
Hold on a second. Last one was from
Hermes.
Hermes. Okay.
Yeah. And so those gods are labeled. The labels can kind of change between islands sometimes, depending on sort of what's being focused on.
Sure.
Here we have Hera, queen of the gods, Zeus, lord of the sky, and then Hermes, god of thieves.
And so Hermes had this like phrase associated with it, spoils to those who deserve them. Did the other two also have a phrase associated?
So the first one, the sign of Hera, leading the pious to restore what is lost. The sacred peacock kind of doing this. And then for Zeus, it was the works of man brought low. Okay. Kind of in the face of the might of the gods, right? And so when you all arrive here, as you're kind of trying to get your bearings, and you kind of know kind of what the deal is when you arrive on these islands, that there's always going to be some trouble happening. Like last time you had this funeral procession that you kind of ran into, and you're almost kind of hesitant as you walk onto the island, like trying to make sure that the same thing doesn't happen again.
Right, of course.
But this time you see no large gathering of people, but you do see people kind of rushing to and fro. And a lot of them are kind of almost like wailing and like panicking a bit. And you can hear them saying things like, "It's gone! It's gone!" And then another says, "The Pirate Queen has stolen the Pillar of Storms!" And things of that nature. And some are yelling things like, "Oh, we're defenseless!" And then, "The Harpies shall surely slay us!" Things of that nature. And these people are clearly, very distraught. And sort of as you all are leaving sort of this kind of boardwalk kind of area and going into the town proper, two people approach you. One of them is a large woman, like she's very tall, very broad-shouldered, fairly muscular, and has sort of a bandana tied around her head, like a piece of cloth. And you can see that she's carrying like this very large mining implement, maybe a pickaxe, maybe something else, but whatever would be appropriate. She has some sort of mining implement that she's carrying. Mm-hmm. And next to her, you can see that there is sort of this mousy, kind of aged man in white robes with gold trim, who seems maybe a bit meek, but just less of a commanding presence, especially next to this this miner. And they're sort of having an argument even as they approach you. And you can hear the woman saying things like, "Oh, well, I'm glad the Pillar of Storms is gone. Maybe now the weak, frail people of this town will actually learn to defend themselves." And then the priest there says that, but without the blessing of Hera, the island is doomed. How will we survive without our storms to protect us? The temple and the pillar must be restored. And they're kind of arguing this as they approach you all, and they say, "Great heroes, what do you think? Whom would you aid in this time of strife?" Yeah, and so that kind of presents you with this kind of initial challenge here is, who are you kind of going to side with, or do you find a third way to sort of go at this?
Yeah.
Hilarion is going to nudge Xenon and be like, the Pirate Queen sounds like a lot of fun.
She may indeed, but I think something like this, or maybe many facets that we need to consider and address. Many Wade Phaedros, I would trust your counsel in this. and I'm going to try and assist Many-Wade Phaedros in navigating this moment
Great.
with these people. I'll ask some pointed questions, but I'm going to ultimately assist my my more flexible member of the party.
Yeah, so I believe you give a copy of your name die. Then, or wait, you give a domain die for supporting.
Okay.
But
So I will give craft and reason.
Okay.
To
Great.
him. So I will ask some logical questions, and if something seems like wouldn't really work, I'd do one of these. Like, this sounds like bullshit to me, but I won't say it.
Sure, you don't want it to be a little to the left. I mean, it's up to you, but
Yeah. Okay, so I guess Many-Wade Phaedros is up to you to decide who you all will side with in this case.
I'd like to spend a bond to have Phaedros is making the decision. To highly suggest that we go for the Pirate Queen.
So the Pirate Queen is sort of is kind of a separate thing right now. Yeah, the thing that you're sort of deciding right now is whether these two leaders of the island, so this priest and the sort of the chief of the mining operation, are both kind of asking you to choose a side. So, like, are you for putting all the resources to rebuilding the temple?
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So they're basically asking us to pick Hera or Zeus.
Maybe. I mean, that's up to the sort of interpretation of these signs. But Ionestes is very. I should introduce these characters by name. They would do that before asking you to pick sides. But we have Melitea, which is Meletia. She introduces herself as the mining chief. And her opinion is she wants to be rid of all of this talk of magic and the will of the gods. She is a woman of industry. And the thing that'll save this island is mining more gold. And the, kind of the sweat of the people's brow, not the gods and their, their sorcery. Whereas Ionestes is very much devout, and his sort of pitch is that if the Temple of Hera is reconstructed, and he'll say, he keeps saying like, "Oh, the Temple of Hera must be restored," and then he'll say, "No, even improved. It should be improved, inlaid with gold." And like things of that nature, like trying to push as much money into this temple reconstruction as possible. And the reason he gives for that is to show the utmost piety for the utmost protection. Is kind of his thing. Yeah.
So I will spend a bond to go with the mining. Like that should be our decision.
Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, so Makaria is sort of, kind of tugging on Phaedros' sleeve and kind of nodding towards Melitea.
Just leaning on my staff, but has made her own decision and is directing Phaedros that way.
Okay, so explain how this works. So we have the decision. The party leader would normally make that decision.
Right.
He has passed that on to Many-Wade Phaedros.
Right.
And so now Heather has put the bond to go one way.
Yeah, you spend a bond to sway the decision of the leader. And so I would say maybe wait to spend that bond until we know what Phaedros is going to decide. Right, is kind of because he has to weigh in one way or the other before he can be like, I think you should do this actually, and then that way you don't spend the bond if you don't need to.
You're about to spend the bond then, yeah. No, Phaedros would be like, well, you can't just deny the gods. The gods are real. The gods are an important thing. Maybe not the only thing to focus on for your island. Like, you can't sink all your resources into the temple, but like, you can't abandon the weak, and you can't ignore the gods.
So I will say there is a third option here for you all, which is to give a sort of diplomatic answer, and have them be like, okay, well, clearly you have a lot of gold. You could do both, kind of deal. Because Melitea wants to use...
You got a lot of gold. You could do both.
Right.
That's right.
But it's like, because Melitea is like, oh, we should build like walls and we should build defenses. And
Right.
Ionestes is like, we should build a temple. And so it's like, that
But
temples
if
are made of
we-
stone.
Build a temple and fences. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, listening to Phaedros's argument is different.
Yeah.
Makes Macaria's decision different. She
Right.
would Macaria would also go the route of, it sounds as if you have resources for both if you were to come together to make those decisions.
Right.
That's
Um,
so I think that's where Mike is leaning to. So I don't think I need to spend a bond. Like-
so the sort of caveat here before you make this decision, right? I want to put all my cards out on the table here. Typically, if you pick a side, you will do a contest of arts and oration against one of these people. If you don't pick a side, you're going to have to convince them both. And the sort of stakes here are that if no one prevails in this contest, then like both of these island leaders are going to kind of close off, and you'll kind of be on your own to do things. Like they're not going to help you, but you can still do heroics here. You can still do anything. You can go chase down the Pirate Queen, try and find the Pillar of Storms, all those things. But they're going to be less likely to talk to you and help you do that. But
We just need to not fail.
Yeah. We've
Easy
been
enough.
so good at not failing. So
all right. So I will put in all of the. I'm going to be rolling a lot of dice, which I don't know
As
if this
you
is.
do.
I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do this, but I think it sounds good. So we'll do it like this.
Sorry.
So we got Melitea, the mining chief.
Right here.
So are you, just so I understand, after all that discussion, we are taking the middle way.
Yeah, trying to
Where-
go for the third route, and like the narrative.
As I knew that many-wayed Phaedrus would,
Right.
because we want all the ways. We don't want just one way. I knew when I said the many-wayed, he would find a means for us to pursue all options.
So then we have.
And I would get a bond out of the
Ionestes.
deal, which is great because I don't have any bonds.
You do this.
Yes.
So Ionestes, priest of Hera. Okay, so yeah, and I think like sort of the narrative consequence, right, of picking a middle route is that the role's maybe a little bit more difficult. Is kind of my way of balancing that. And you know, that's just, I really don't know. I'm playing Calvin Ball here. I'm just making it up.
Calvin Ball is the best. So yeah. And in my assistance to him is in this moment, right, of addressing this challenge, because he hasn't actually rolled anything yet.
Right.
Okay.
So yeah, you're supporting. So you're just giving a die to whatever it is that he rolls. So we have Melitea, the Binding Chief, and Ionestes, the Priest of Hera. Both of them have like a D6 for their name. And the sort of characteristics I've picked for this situation, Melitea is stoic. She doesn't change her mind very easily. And Ionestes, you can tell, is very zealous in his faith, but also a bit reckless. In that you get the impression that there's a lot he would do to make sure this temple gets built. And so, yeah, we will roll strife here with a contest of arts and oration. And then we'll see who gets involved. Okay, target number is just an 11. That's not terrible.
And that's for both of them?
Yeah, that's for both. So you're in a contest against both of them because
Okay.
the one thing that they can agree on is that they want all the money.
Right.
And so you're saying, oh, we don't get all the resources. Well, we can agree that that's not a good deal for us.
Right.
Like I want all of them,
We
and he wants all of them.
We take the money and then we redistribute it to.
Yes.
Yes,
That's right.
That's right.
right.
Taxes.
Yeah, so definitely I think that Great Hunter Xenon would be of great assistance during this, right?
Right.
Having some reason to, it's like, well, you have more money in the hole, just dig more out and
Right.
and use it.
So who else will face this challenge? I believe Makari stepped away. Heather stepped away for a sec. But
Heather says she'll assist Phaedros, and so will
this is
Hilarion.
Oh, okay. All three of it.
okay. So we're
All right.
putting all of our eggs in the Phaedros basket.
Yeah,
So
that's fine. I can do that. That's
Yeah.
So that means you are getting a die for each of these, though. So you're getting a ton of dice to roll. Hilarion, I don't know if this is how you're supposed to do it, but I think what domain are you going to lend? Like, what element to this? Because we have there's a contest of arts and oration, but we already have that Xenon has lent his craft and reason die to kind of maybe craft some stronger arguments.
Right.
Using logic and kind of trying to figure out what these people need to hear. So how is Hilarion supporting in this case?
I think Hilarion will lend. If we think this is possible, he's going to go blood and valor and talk about the kind of build up anyway Phaedros. Talk about not only is he wise, he fought against the champion this way. You got to listen to this guy. He knows port from starboard. That's tricky business.
It's tricky.
It's not everybody can pick that up. I'm telling you,
which that will of course it'll also give Phaedros more credibility to say you don't need all of these resources to build defenses. You can build sufficient defenses with just this because I know about battle. I'm good. And then I don't know what Makari would like to lend.
Resolve in spirit.
Resolve in spirit. Okay, so you will roll every domain.
There it is.
We have rounded out. Every domain is being used here. You are crafting the perfect argument from many parts, many ways.
That's right.
yes.
You get your epithet,
Okay.
I think, just by default because you have many ways of approaching this,
Right.
just from what everybody's helping you with.
Yep.
But remember, you can also spend a pathos to use an additional domain on top of the additional domains you have. And you can spend a divine favor to kind of bolster your roll.
And I like to think that we have like this huddle that we get into and like we have this like big long discussion, like tell us of the nature of the troubles of the temple, right? Tell us of the construction materials that are at the ready to build these defenses,
Right.
and Hilarion is talking about, well, what is the fitness of the men, that are going to be manning these walls? Do you even have the troops to man these walls, or hitting them from all these different angles, and Phaedros is watching and listening and bringing it all in and is going to deliver the cunning blow, I'm sure.
Yeah, and then somebody's out there who's like, Harpies can fly.
Yeah.
Like, what are your walls for, man?
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely that. Like, if it's one of you guys or just one of the crew from the ship, they're like, Harpies.
Yeah.
That's definitely Hilarion. It's like they're birds, right?
Yeah.
They're birds.
You need nets across the whole thing. They can't
need
get through
people
the
with
nets.
bows or
All right, so anyway, Phaedros, test your fate. Like 5 billion dice. So
yeah, I know. I'm debating. It's like I'm gonna skip spending pathos to pull another domain on my part.
Okay. Well,
okay. Other dice, advantage, bond dice, or support. So the dice that people were giving me, which type of dice were they?
Those are support, so you can still so that'll be their domains, their respective domains, whatever those dice values are.
Yeah. So it's like, are they
8.
D6s, D8?
Mine's an 8.
I'm pretty sure Hilarion's Blood and Valor's an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so all of them gave you D8s, and then you have your you have a D6 in your domain in arts and oration, I think, and then your name's a D6.
Yeah.
So
I will spend a divine favor because I have the knowledge of Apollo.
Excellent. Oh,
There
16. Just knocked it out. Just
Dang.
all right, so Phaedros. First of all, you receive 11 glory. Great. Everybody else gets 1 for supporting. And a bond with Phaedros.
Right.
Collect on those bonds. All right, recite your deeds. How do you convince these very stubborn leaders to work together for once?
Yes, we have our little side huddle debate team prep session, where it's we're gonna have to we discuss the fitness of the troops. We discuss the crafting of the walls so that the Harpies can't just fly over it, just pull everybody
At
off
one
guard.
point in time,
Everything.
there's rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's we have to make sure we're wearing the right color ties. They all have to match this time.
That's right.
And yeah, in presenting these things that counter all these different arguments that are supposed to be well, it should be the temple and not the thing because a wall wouldn't be high enough, and
Yeah.
well, we have a solution to the wall, and but it wouldn't be the thing. It's but we have an answer to that too, and just that extra little spark of knowledge of yes, we know to do this, and the gods will protect you if you do this thing.
Right.
It's enough to finally kind of whittle them all down. Nobody's
Yeah.
probably really happy with the idea,
That's
but
right.
they're all we kind of see where this would work.
Right. So yeah, you get at that point, you get to the point where they both find themselves sort of lost for words. They try to think of another reason that your idea is not good enough, but they just can't. And they sort of begrudgingly kind of shake hands, and you can see Ionestes wince at the strength of Meletia's grip. And then she shakes the rest of your hands, and then goes and tries to round up her men to start construction, and to send some up to the temple and all that kind of stuff. And the priests are kind of hurrying about trying to get everything ready with design specifications, and you get a little bit of both. That's yeah. So that's kind of what comes out of that. So that already kind of brings us to the trials of the island. Now that you've sort of settled this out, you have a few tasks that have been kind of laid out in front of you.
Okay.
You know that the Pirate Queen, who you've come to know that her name is Thesekyra, she is out a bit to sea, and you see there's only one other ship that is kind of large enough to be a pirate ship. The rest of them are small, fishing boats and things like that. But you can see that she is out there, and you can see that there are sort of clouds kind of gathering around her ship, very slowly. It's kind of they're being pulled in. There's kind of this sort of spiral of clouds is kind of starting to form, but very slowly. You also know that at some point the Harpies are probably going to come and attack the town. There's also just you've heard that this pillar was stolen, but nobody seems to know how it happened. Everybody seems to know that Thesekyra has the pillar, but nobody knows when she actually got the pillar or how she got it.
Pillar?
So the pillar, let me see if they have a canonical. They don't really have a canonical size or anything like that. I think it's probably about 5 feet tall. So it's probably not as tall as many of you, but it is fairly big around because it was supporting a structure, right? So it's not a small pillar. It probably weighs a few 100 pounds. But that's not a huge ask for you all to be able to transport or anything like that. It's not big enough to sink a ship, right? It can fit comfortably in a ship and be carried around. The description you get of this pillar, though, is one that is sort of intricately carved with a lot of clouds and lightning bolts and rain and hail and snow and harpies. All of the descriptions you get of this pillar is that it had this scene of harpies on it. And that's sort of the description you get. But this pillar has been taken somehow. You would think the priest would have noticed at the temple. That, it does strike you as odd. And there's not really investigation checks or anything like that to kind of, unless you really go into a contest with someone to pry information from them. But this is what you can gather just by talking
around.
to the sort of the unnamed folk of the island, right? They all know about the pillar. They all, like, some of the priests would give you some information, like, oh, it disappeared under the, just out of the blue. Like, we all were in prayers, and then we came, and then the pillar was gone. It's, we don't know what happened.
Do we know why the Pirate Queen is still here?
You don't.
Okay.
You can see that she is kind of stationary in her ship. But you can see that the longer you all kind of sit around and try to, like, piece together information, the longer you're gathering information, sort of the more these clouds are kind of starting to spiral in towards her ship.
Okay.
Yeah. So what all do you feel inclined to pursue first? Kind of what is the most pressing issue for your crew? And that kind of falls to Xenon to sort of make those decisions. Unless Xenon himself disclaims that decision making.
Yeah. So, and one last piece of information I'd like to understand, if it's freely available, where are the Harpies coming from? Do they live on the island, or do they fly in from some unknown location?
Yeah, so you, like, talking with people who live on the island and things like that, you gather that those giant spires, the, like, teeth that sort of rose from the ocean, that's where the Harpies live. They live in caves
Okay.
above the clouds in these, like,
Got it.
huge spires of stone.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's
Yeah.
convenient.
Yeah, and then but they are known to sort of every now and then sort of descend and attack if they are displeased. But the Temple of Hera has kind of kept them sated for some reason.
Got it. So I think that understanding how or why the Pirate Queen took the pillar, so that we know a method of retrieval, is on my list. And then it seems like we also have to do something about these defenses, right? We also have to be, like,
Right.
making the defenses against the Harpies.
Yeah.
And is there a third thing we need to do?
So like, as far as, like, places to go, right? There's, like, Thesekyra and her ship is, like, one place of interest, and presumably she has the pillar on her ship.
Right.
Then there's the town and the Harpies, which you can, if you're so inclined, you can climb those spires and take on the Harpies directly, or wait for them to come and kind of drive them off. It's kind of up to you and how you feel like addressing that. And then those are kind of your two actionable points.
Okay.
The third one is just kind of what's going on here, and likely you will pick up clues by doing those other two things, right? Because something about the Harpies, like, why are they so mad?
Right.
Why does Thesekyra have the pillar? How did she get it? Why is she still here?
Right.
You kind of have to go to one of those places to figure that out, right?
Right. Okay, fair enough. Then I think that looking at what we have in front of us, I think that Xenon we would be at some kind of like a smoke pit, right? And we're sharing some drink and some food, and we've heard the tales of woe from the people and the priests and that sort of thing, and we're kind of huddled up, and Xenon is looking around and saying, I don't think this island has a great amount of time before calamity visits it, either from the Harpies or from this storm that is maybe controlled by the Pirate Queen. It is my intention to go visit the Pirate Queen and see about returning this pillar. If we can arrest control of the storms, that may buy us, the island, the time it needs to build up its defenses and improve its riches and that sort of thing. Phaedras, this would mean that we would need your boat to get out there. The Hilarion, this would mean that we would need your sword. And Macaria, this would mean that we would need your resolve to get us through that challenge with these pirates. I think this to be the best course of action.
I don't disagree with that. I think that it's also interesting to wonder why the Pirate Queen was able to get the pillar
Yes.
so easily from the island. And I feel that the priest is very quick to want to build up the Temple of Hera grander than it was before. And I wonder if there's something at play between the gods in regards to that.
Yeah. Are there any other temples on this island, or is it just Hera's temple?
Yep.
Okay.
It is Hera's temple. Typically, most islands will have like an honored god. They honor all the gods, of course, but they have one that is like their primary source of protection. And how this sort of tradition came about is kind of lost to time, but maybe it's they figured if they funnel all of their blessings into one god that they'll get like quality over quantity, right? It's like, oh man, if we can get named a sacred island of Hera, then we're good to go. She'll take care of us. But if we try to get 12 gods happy, that's a lot to deal with. They don't even agree with each
That's a lot
other.
of riches that you'd have to like sacrifice in order.
Yeah,
to
and you can't
12
just
gods.
say like, oh, this is to all the gods, because then they just get mad, right? They're kind of tough to deal with, especially
only
that
want one.
Zeus. He gets real
But-
touchy.
Well, but Zeus is the god of storms. Therefore, I believe the pillar may be something to him.
It seems odd that it is an island with a temple to Hera, who that is their patron god of this, or goddess of this island, and yet all of their defenses and livelihood seem to apparently come from something of storms from Zeus. That just seems odd to me. You have me when you're talking about going for a fight. You know that I'm all for. I mean, I've wanted to ram a boat since we got on Phaedros' ship. I mean, I'm all for ramming the pirate. This is great.
Oh, well, okay.
But
Hang on. Hold on just 1 second. Yeah.
A minute ago, I was a taxi. Now I'm a battering ram. Those are two
Wait,
different
I'm
things.
sorry. Do you want to ram the pirate's ship or the pirate?
both.
Right.
The
Okay.
Just wait till you
pirate's
meet
gonna
him.
be on the ship. So
Yeah, we have
Obviously.
not laid gaze upon her visage yet before we go
So-
into describing intention. But
So my thoughts here are well, one, apparently, if I get this right, this giant pillar of storm summons storms, surrounds you with a storm. And these guys, they're used to having their own happy storm here that keeps them safe. And if there's one thing that I have learned about being on a boat, it's that storms suck. So I don't know why this pirate person would want to steal her own storm, because you want to sail away from storms and you can't if it's on your boat.
right.
So I don't think that they're going anywhere. I think they're going to drop anchor and just wait out there because they're going to be surrounded by storms and we could go take on the Harpies.
Unless it's
I mean, it's not like they
controlling
can throw
the.
the storm at us. We want the storm, right? The
Well,
storm.
it might be controlling the weather, which therefore would give her access to the winds.
Yeah, it could also be protecting her boat from harpies if they've been
Yeah.
attacked often by harpies.
But if we kill the Harpies, then she won't need her boat protected from the Harpies.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. So if we go up there and attack the harpies, that does defend the island from the harpies.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of ways. In my experience as a leader, I found that there are multiple ways that you have to look at things. You have to look at all the different, like Midway Phaedros over here. He'll tell you there's more than one way to skin a goat. You just have to figure out the right way to do it. And I don't want to just get complete on the whole. That's our best and only option without looking at the other ones here.
Sure.
Because we could go fight the. See, here's the thing: if we go fight the pirates and we steal the lightning thingy and bring it back, then that solves the problem. But if we go and we fight and kill the Harpies, right? And then we go fight and kill the pirates, that's 2 fights.
Well, maybe we should ask the priest or someone here why the Harpies are here and what makes them so irate.
They're Harpies. Have you ever seen them? They're always angry.
That's not necessarily true.
Is it not? What do you know of Harpies then?
I know that they are a creature with intelligence that could be spoken to rather than outright slaughtered.
Mm.
And we should think of all of the options that are put before us. Finding out more information is better than not having information.
Yes. My concern is that we don't have the time for the investigation. But if we were to climb these pillars and ascend the domain of the Harpies, we could see if there's room to parlay. And if there's not, well, Hilarion has his day.
Let me put this one last thing out there, Xenon, dear uncle, and then you can make your decision. The storms protected this island from the Harpies, but also from outside sources that may come in to harm them. Other pirates, bandits, things like that. They have lost the defense of the entire island, not just from the Harpies. So retrieving the pillar means more than just this one protection. We slay the Harpies doesn't mean that we take care of the rest of their problems.
This is a tightrope that we are upon. If we address the Pirate Queen, I feel that Hera may be most venerated because we could return the artifact that restores her temple to its glory, if not even improving the temple on some degree. It does take resources away from the mining efforts because I'm sure the mines also have to contend with these storms. I think I want to climb these pillars and see what's going on with the Harpies. They feel like the most immediate threat. If we can parlay with them, understand why it is they attack this island or drive them away, then we will remove the immediate threat and perhaps still have the room to address the Pirate Queen.
Okay. So the way we're going to do this is I think there needs to be a contest just to get up to these caves.
Right.
Because I feel like it's been described, like it is described as like sort of this very perilous, like just these jagged teeth rising out of the sea kind of deal.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do that's one reason I really love this system is that you just use kind of words and you assign them die sizes, which I think that's such an easy way to just make challenges.
Right.
Like, and so we'll have you're heading to the sky caves, is what kind of people call them, because they're caves, but they almost like you can only see clouds sort of once you're up around where the caves are. It's just these pillars you have to climb.
Cool.
So I think the sky caves themselves, I'm gonna give them like a 2d8, 2d8, and we'll call it perilous. You know, so because if you suffer, you're gonna fall or something. It's gonna hurt.
Right.
So we'll call it 2d8 perilous. I think that, you know, it's intermediately difficult. It's not like the most difficult thing in the world, but it's a little tough. There are definitely more formidable cliffs and caves and rocks and things like that just in the book. So I'll put him at a D8.
Cool.
Or 2d8. I think, yeah, so we'll call it 2d8 perilous to ascend these pillars to the sky caves. And of course, this is going to be a contest of blood and valor, primarily because this is your athleticism. This is, can you climb these? There's not really a lot of ways to think your way around climbing this giant pillar, because there's no other way to get up there. You might be able to add a second domain, right, to sort of temper your athleticism, but like you still have to rely on it in one way or another. So we'll go ahead and submit here. Target number is 12. So who is actually going to ascend these pillars up to the sky caves?
Great Hunter Xenon will ascend these pillars into the sky caves, and I will, of course, do so with my own athleticism. But Great Hunter Xenon will spend some time working with ropes to make a harness of sorts to aid in his ascension.
Okay, so I'm assuming that means you mark a pathos to use craft and reason or something like that.
Correct. Yep.
Okay, great. Who else will face this challenge?
Many weight Phaedros will climb these pillars.
I'm sure there are many ways to climb a pillar.
Iron-minded Macaria will take up this challenge.
Okay.
There's a fight up there. There's no way Hilarion is not climbing these pillars.
Yeah, and I'll say to kind of set the stakes, suffering in this contest doesn't mean you don't get to the top, because you guys are badasses. You're going to get to the top. It's just how banged up do you get on your way to the top.
Sure.
Is kind of the deal here. I don't remember what game system I was reading recently where it was like, set the stakes, then roll, and I'm like, I like that. I'm trying to incorporate that, but
Nice.
so yeah, is anyone using any bonds or anything like that? Divine favor going into this? No.
I'm gonna use the divine favor, the fortitude of Poseidon to help in this climb.
Of course.
I used Hilarion my bond of Hilarion to assist.
Yeah. So if you use the bond, you get the name die.
Okay.
And that can take many forms depending on how Hilarion helps.
Yes, I would request Hilarion's assistance. What I think it might be is if he doesn't suffer, I guess, would be that he can get up a section of the rock with his bulk. Surely Macaria can also make it up that way.
Yeah.
What are you saying?
You're a boulder. That's what I'm saying.
I think just speaking from personal experience, climbing's tough when you're a big fella, because like you might have a lot of muscle, but you got a lot of weight to move. Like,
Hilarion's going to use a bond with many ways over there, and he's gonna stand there at the bottom, kind of like
see how he does it. Yeah.
Think to the left, or do you think to the right? You know, because there's a lot of ways up there, and if anybody knows, it's going to be Phaedros. He was shifty in that fight back there. I remember. He snuck up behind, took care of everything. So, we need a wily fella back there. So,
yeah, and he, this is absolutely looking like one of those climbing puzzles in like old school Assassin's Creed, where it's like there's that one way to get up there.
Right.
There's there's that one way that's going to be easy, and kind of depending on what your strengths are, it kind of depends on which path you take. This is kind of what we're dealing. We're a classic climbing puzzle.
Yep.
All right, so it sounds like everybody's in. Everybody's got their bonds and everything figured out. So test your fate.
I think I am also going to spend a bond with Phaedros.
All right. Once again, relying on the wisdom of Phaedros to make these climbs.
So I get an extra D6, right?
Yeah, you get Phaedros' name die, which is a D6.
Okay, perfect.
Good luck with that. It didn't help Phaedros any.
Oh no.
Oh no, it didn't.
Yeah, it didn't help me either.
Okay. Did I forget to mark? I did not forget to mark perilous. Okay. So anyone who suffers in this contest will mark a pathos.
Spending divine favor, you just put 1 in the input value, right?
I think so.
Okay, just that's what I thought.
Oh, nice.
Nice,
So now
nice.
I need Iron-Minded Macaria and I need Boulder like Hilarion to both roll your name die. Because we have a tie. And that is unacceptable. There can be no ties. One of you is best. That is the way this game works. Okay, so a 2. And a 3. Okay, close. Just barely. But it looks like Hilarion is going to be best and take all that glory, all 12 of that glory. Macaria, you'll get 6, and then our sufferers get but 1. But still, growth is growth, right? Just a little bit of growth.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. And also mark our pathos. So we'll start with Miniwade Phaedros. How does your climb go wrong? Remembering that you still eventually make it to the top, but
Right.
you know what peril befalls you along the way.
I think there may actually be a part where Phaedros does fall, right? Like starts to like goes away back down until he like grabs hold of like a vine or something that is strong enough to like stop him.
Yeah.
But he's like losing pieces of gear. It's like, I guess I'll pick that up when we go back down if it's still like, my shield is like bent in half.
Yeah, so like losing a little gear and catching yourself, both of those things are pretty strenuous.
And even catching that is like that's not like, ooh, that was comfortable. That's like slamming into like this giant stone slab that goes up into the sky. That's
that's like I caught that vine.
Like, I'm gonna have to wipe this blood off later too, right? Like,
caught that vine, slid down like 15 feet on that vine and just burned the hell out of my hand. And then my shoulder popped out for a second and I had to pop it back in. Like, that's what that looks like. That's not just oh no, I fell. Like, no, that's I am falling and dying, but I stopped myself barely. Injury over death, right? Is kind of the deal.
Yes.
Great. So that brings us to Great Hunter Xenon, who was following in Phaedros' footsteps.
Yeah, so Great Hunter Xenon had taken the effort of creating harnesses and things to aid in this climb effort, and when Phaedros was slipping and falling, Xenon had to abandon his route and move laterally across sheer cliff, hanging on by fingernails to get to Phaedros and help him reset his shoulder. And the two of them limped slowly up the mountain, having lost some gear and are last to arrive.
Right. Yeah. Sounds good. Next we have Iron-Minded Macaria, who called on the help of Hilarion, which was maybe the better bet here. It's a pretty safe bet. Hera made it up.
Macaria followed in Hilarion's wake, but saw at times that his wingspan was larger than her own. So she asked her dear grandmother to help assist her in this climb. And as she went forth, vines would come from, out of cracks in the rock that she used to help pull herself along the way.
Yeah, great. And last and best, Boulder like Hilarion, recite your climb.
Well, Boulder like Hilarion, I mean, he's in the mountains. He's amongst the rocks. He's with his people. I mean, this is who he is. So he's all for,
his people, the boulders.
Rocks are people too. Don't be judgmental.
Animism for the win.
He's with his people. We're going boulder to boulder and rock to rock. And so he's up there amongst his people and he's working his way. And occasionally, help out. That spot's slippery. That spot's a little rough. Be careful. But he climbs. there's a few times where it's a pure feat of strength, but he makes it. He does take the path that he talked over with Phaedras, though. It was important, a little wisdom there. But yeah, and then he stands victorious at the top.
Yeah. So and Hilarion waits there for several minutes, as the rest of you finish this climb. That, just to put it in perspective, no mortal man could make this climb. Like no totally mundane crew member could make it. Like, you have to be one of the great heroes, mortal or otherwise, but you have to be a hero to climb something like this. And you all make it to the top of this pillar. The top of it is probably the diameter, maybe 20-30 feet. It's a relatively enclosed space. But you are above the clouds, and you can see as other of these spires kind of climb higher around you, you can see that they're dotted with these small sort of crevices and indentions of these caves, and you can see just tens of eyes kind of gazing down at you all. And you can see that the sun's kind of shining above you down, and you can see nothing but clouds below you. But you see all of these eyes kind of peering out of caverns, and like feathered heads and arms kind of climbing around. But it seems you've arrived in the domain of the Harpies. So now the question is, what will you do? How will you sort of approach this encounter with Harpies?
Yeah, so since it was Xenon's call to get up here, Xenon is going to call out to the Harpies. Is there like a Harpy Queen or something like that?
Not that you can see at the moment, but
Sure.
maybe you'll find out after you call out. Depends.
Okay. Yeah, I gotcha.
I almost want to make this an arts and oration contest, just for them to not attack you.
Right, yeah,
Just in general.
exactly. So, yeah, Xenon is going to stand, pick himself up, and kind of dust off, and ignore the blood and scrapes on his body, and call up to these Harpies and say, cunning Harpies of the air, hear me. I am great hunter Xenon. I come to you I come to you seeking to parlay.
Okay.
See if that carries.
Yeah, so I think we're gonna go ahead and call a contest here.
Yep.
I think is appropriate. I won't use all of their characteristics, right? Because I think this is very much a speaking contest. It is arts and oration. You are trying to convince them to hear you out.
Right.
So we'll put in and see the Harpies. These are a formidable foe, for sure. So we have the Harpies. Their name is a D10.
Good.
Yeah. But their razor claws do not come into this contest. So you get to skip those. But they are just hate-filled. They're just filled with hate. Which is, looks like we've got a D8 here, and, sacred. Yeah, mythical. When it comes to like these mythical creatures, they tend to be sacred. The gods tend to have opinions about these things that they made. And it seems like they can freely. Well, they're not attacking yet, so I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there. So we just got the D10 and the D8, the hate-filled Harpies you were trying to parlay with. Okay. So that's sort of all the things that influence this particular contest. So we'll roll strife here. It is sacred, so if you suffer in this contest, you must mark off a divine favor. This is a contest of arts and oration. Target number 13. So who will face this contest of arts and oration against the hate-filled Harpies of Kryos? Is that what it is? Kryos?
I'll assist Xenon.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, Phaedras is going to support. Yeah. So what domain are you going to lend to Great Hunter Xenon?
Can I let him resolve in spirit for
yeah, so
supernaturally things?
Yeah, that makes sense. So resolve in spirit
these are
contains magic. So you're giving Xenon kind of pointers on how to parlay with these creatures of myth.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'm described as raven-like, so like, bird people
Speak bird.
things. Like I can see where these things come together, and like, yeah, it's
Okay.
I assume Xenon is going to participate in this. He hasn't said yes or no yet, so
Right.
Well, somebody's
I don't know
supporting
who
you,
else-
so you've kind of been.
Yeah.
I imagine like you all are
Ushered forward.
standing like
Yep.
even, and then Mini-Wade Faye just kind of pats you on the shoulder, caws a couple times in your ear, and then pushes you forward a little bit.
Caw is better than a caw.
Plus you did already kind of call out to the Harpies, so I don't think you really have a
yeah,
chance.
and this was my idea to come up here, so I gotta.
Yeah, you gotta do it.
So Hilarion is going to also support Xenon. He's gonna, put his arm around him, pat him on the shoulder. Hey, I've seen you talk to that bird of yours a lot of times. Like, you got this. I mean, this is what you do. You talk to dumb birds. You got this. Don't worry about it.
I actually do think I think it'd be fun to give Xenon here like a D10 advantage die, because you are comfortable with birds.
Oh,
Like I think that does provide you an advantage.
that's very nice of you.
Right.
It is.
I'm into that.
It is very nice. Just wait till I mean later.
I know.
Yeah, just talk to him like you're talking to Fluffy, and it'll all be fine.
Yeah. Okay.
And then I think that Hilarion is going to lend Blood and Valor, because he's going to go back and just kind of casually start stretching, because he just had that climb. But also, like, if you guys don't listen to my friend here, we're going to take a different path.
You're sitting there like sharpening your blades and like.
I mean, he's got a club, so he's doing the like.
Oh yeah.
No, I'm just calming down after my climb.
Yeah.
Gather a nice series of rocks here that I can throw at you. He's gathering a few softballs. Yeah.
Iron-minded Macaria.
Iron-minded Macaria is going to take up this challenge of arts and oration and call on her bond with Apollo.
Ooh. All right. Yeah, we're up here next to the sun, right? And Apollo's got something to do with the sun. Apollo is not Helios by any stretch of the imagination, but Apollo is, I think, vaguely associated with the sun. I think I remember that from the Hercules animated series on Disney Channel.
I'm into that.
Whatever.
So yeah,
It's a great show. I love that
Critical
show.
Xenon will absolutely take up this arts and oration challenge.
Yeah. And then I'm throwing you a D10 on this one because you're used to birds.
Okay.
And like have some like you can understand those like body language things.
Right. Yeah, like the way their heads are moving, like tells me sizing me up to eat me, or are they
how the feathers sit on the head.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Like, are they kind of puffed up or are they laid back? Kind of deal.
I'm into that. I am tired of failing at this game, so I'm also going to spend a divine favor from Apollo.
Okay. Cool.
Because I got a couple of those.
So 1d12 in the other dice section, right?
Yep. If you call on a bond with a god, it's a d12. If you use divine favor, it's a d4 that you add.
Right.
But yeah. Oh, do we have rolls? Do we have rolls happening? All right. So Iron-minded Macaria prevails at least.
Awesome.
What did that d12 roll though? I'm curious.
Other dice. So I get a 2d8.
10.
A 10, sick.
1d8.
Yeah. Yeah, 2d8.
Yeah,
and then a
nothing else.
D10.
You can't even roll that high. So yeah, it was a d10. Or is it 10?
That's awesome.
And I'm spending a divine favor. All right.
Okay, and a 15. So
Didn't lose.
both of you prevail,
Didn't
but
good.
Macaria's best. So Macaria is going to kind of carry this home.
Yep.
With the aid of Apollo, and we'll kind of figure out, we'll kind of come up together with how that bond with Apollo sort of manifests, because a divine favor and a bond work a little differently in how that power manifests. So we'll start with Great Hunter Xenon.
Yeah. So I call out asking for parlay, and I get a number of responses from the birds. Some
Yeah.
of them fluff in agitation. Some of them cock their head to the side in curiosity. And Xenon immediately begins addressing those who are agitated by their presence. And Xenon avails a number of offerings for them. Hare and fox and other like morsels of meat freshly killed, and arrays them in front of him on a cloth, and uh, uh, sets up this bargain of all you must do is hear me and my companions, and all of this meat may be yours. Once you have heard us, you may come to your own conclusions, but I provide you these offerings of peace, that your stomachs may be filled so that you can hear what we have to say. And some of the birds come down, some of the harpies land down and hiss and caw and strut, and we don't waver, we don't lose ground to them, though they try and push us away from the blanket of goods. And then there's a feed,
Yeah.
and that begins to lull them and sate some of them. There's others that are now perching and watching and peering down at us. And Xenon is focused on begins to focus on feeding this horde of birds and keeping those that are starving, keeping them contained. And yet there are still more birds above with curiosity in their eyes, trying to understand what is really at play here.
Yeah, and so we see kind of these harpies. They eat, and they kind of regard you all. Some of them will actually like kind of approach and kind of look you in the eyes and kind of take in each of you to kind of judge your character. But then after all is said and done, we have this sort of semicircle of harpies that kind of stand around the edge of this pillar that kind of regards you all and seem to be interested in listening. So Makaria, what do you say?
Makaria praises Apollo, and sun basks on her. And as he is the god of music, Makaria starts to sing, much like the birds sing a beautiful song, and relates
like a
this
whistling.
a whistling
almost,
almost, yes. But within the chorus of those songs, there is the story, this epic story is woven in of how the heroes came to this island and sought peace with the harpies and wanted to find what is causing their strife, their anger, why they live upon this hill or this mountain, and calms them with her voice and her words and parlays to get information with them.
Excellent. Yeah, and okay, so we'll do our bookkeeping here. Makaria, you gain 13 glory from this contest, and Great Hunter Xenon receives 7, and then our supporters receive 1. Right.
And my bond with Apollo, I've taken off my shield.
Yeah, you've used your bond. And these harpies, they kind of gather around, and there's one that kind of stands more upright than the others, and seems to be, you take it like the matron of this like flock, I suppose. And she comes up and she explains. She'd say like, for many years, this island was given to us by our father Zeus, and we had free reign of it all. But then these men come with their mines and their temples, and our mother cursed by Hera, and she'll kind of almost like spit when she says the name Hera. Cursed turned to a pillar of stone, further affront to Zeus's domain. And then the kind of the idea you get is that this pillar was once a harpy. And Hera, in sort of one of her, this is not unheard of in myth, and it's not uncommon in myth that Hera takes vengeance for something Zeus has done.
Right. And mucks with his toys.
Yeah, she is slighted, and because for one reason or another, she turned sort of the mother of these harpies into stone. Let me see exactly. Yeah, and it's kind of they give you kind of the dirty details that like that particular harpy was friendly with Zeus, sort of known bachelor but also married Zeus, was doing what Zeus does, and caused a lot of issues. So that's sort of where their hatred comes from for this temple, this town, and this pillar. And they this sort of acting matron of the Harpies kind of lets you all know that if you could remove the curse upon their mother, that they would cease their attacks on the town. And so she kind of charges you to find this way to remove the curse, and failing that, at the very least, to take it from this island, and to kind of remove this affront to Zeus's power. They also explained to you that what the pillar actually does is it controls the weather. It doesn't just create storms; it can create wind, rain, anything. And so it is an extremely powerful artifact. But one that completely subverts Zeus's power in his own domain, which they cannot abide. And the fact that it is made from their mother is all the worse. But that is kind of the terms they give you, that they will hold off their attack until you can either return to them their mother, or until you have left with this pillar. But if you return it to the temple, they will attack. Is kind of the deal that they give you. And so it'll be up to you all to decide kind of what's worth it, right? Because removing this pillar in any fashion, will kind of leave this island vulnerable to more pirates, because there's just a ton of gold on this island, and it is fabled for its gold, and so it draws the attention of a lot of unsavory types of people who have been rebuffed by these storms up until now. And so that's kind of your big moral quandary for the island, is what do we do with this pillar? But before then, you actually have to retrieve the pillar,
right?
Which is currently in the possession of Thesekyra the Pirate Queen.
Is there anything further to be gained from these harpies up here?
I think you all have they have made their sort of
peace
kind of
with us.
They sort of made their peace, and the benefit that they will give you is a fleeting one. They will hand each of you one of their feathers that will allow you to descend the pillar safely.
Okay.
But it is sort of, as you touch the ground, it turns into dust and is blown away in the wind kind of situation. But they will give you that at least,
okay,
as a gesture of good faith. But yeah, and I think that's where we will cut to our break, because we're around break time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, then, do we want like a 10-minute break?
Yeah, I think 10 would be good.
Okay. Awesome. Well, folks, we will be back at 52-ish past the hour, as we say, and yeah, we'll see what our glorious heroes get up to next, as we try and figure out which of these three approaches we want to go for.
This one's it's pretty straightforward, but it doesn't lack like complexity of decision making.
Right.
And I'm not exactly making your lives easier with some of the kind of edits I'm making to the island. So it's all fun.
Oh, good. I like that the island is edited.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, yeah, we'll be right back, folks, in 10 minutes.
All right. See you then. One, we're back. We're here.
Excellent. Awesome. So yeah, welcome back, everybody. Let's get back into this island. So, Ethan, did we take the feathers and float down? Is that our?
If that's
we
what you
move
want to
off?
do. The Harpies have kind of given you their ultimatum, and you might be demigods, but like you're still just people,
Right.
and they don't really feel the need to give you any more of their time. Like, and that semicircle's kind of started to disperse. So if you would like to just jump to, you're on the ground, that's fine.
Okay. Yeah, because I don't really want to discuss any of our business in front of them.
Yeah. So just to give it a little imagery here, you take those feathers, and the Harpies kind of instruct you to just jump. Is like their sort of thing. They like, and they're even kind of like pushing you towards the edge. And as
like a mother
you do,
kicking out the chick.
right?
You know?
Yeah, it very much feels that way, and they tell you to just hold on to it, kind of, and like they'll hold it in one of their claws and then hand it. And as you kind of hold it, yeah. And as you kind of hold it, and fall from the pillar, nothing happens at first, and you just fall. But as you continue to fall, you notice that you're kind of slowing a bit, and there's almost this kind of cushion of wind beneath you that is kind of carrying you. And you notice that not only are you falling down, you're also kind of moving towards land. Because these pillars, they're kind of out in the water. They're not just like connected to the island. But you're kind of moving towards land, and after a bit of time, you're almost like gently placed on
I would love
the
it
sand.
if Typhus and Xenon were like in a flying wing.
Yeah,
thing.
it's
Like if
very
Typhus
much
was with Xenon, like just wings aloft, kind of doing this like cradling thing, is just trying to keep my speed. It's like, oh hey, I
yeah.
get to fly with you.
And
This is kind of interesting.
yeah, and Typhus definitely finds the same wind that's carrying you and is able to just kind of float.
Beautiful.
Just instinctually as a bird can navigate these air drafts, because that's how Typhus flies anyway.
Right.
Is air currents and things like that. So
I think Hilarion comes in a little hot. It's a little bit heavier, a little more boulder like.
Yeah.
So you guys are like doing the like, ooh, and it's just like
very direct.
Yeah, but all of you are sort of unharmed as you reach the ground. And almost, the lighter of you are almost kind of like gently placed, like kind of tipped over onto your feet on the sand.
I'm Mary Poppins at 100%. Like,
yes. Mary Poppins, but like with the energy of what was it Yondu, I think, from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's like, I'm Mary Poppins. Just oh god, that's so good.
That was a wonderful one. Yeah,
that was good. But yeah, and then Hilarion kind of coming in almost like a meteor, sort of just hurtling towards the ground, but then just kind of gently landing, like maybe making a bit of a skid in the sand to kind of stop the momentum. But yeah, you all find yourselves back sort of on the beach near town. And you kind of have time to view the town from a different angle, and you can see that the sort of, I believe they're stone buildings. That's not what I wanted to do. There we go. Okay. Yeah, they're like clay and plaster homes, kind of, and they're all brightly painted, and you can kind of appreciate that from this angle as kind of The sun is kind of starting to get a little bit lower in the sky. It took you some time to climb these pillars, because to get above the clouds takes a while. But in the light of the sunset, these brightly painted houses all kind of come to life. And your attention is then drawn to the horizon, where dark black storm clouds at this point have gathered around Thesekyra's ship, and you can see as sort of winds are almost being like pushed down out of these clouds, and Thesekyra's ship has started to move very quickly, kind of in proximity to the island. And you would kind of assume from this that she seems to have gained some control over the Pillar of Storms, whereas before she did not have that kind of ability to use it. And so, yeah, that's kind of your situation as you arrive on the ground. What would you guys like to do?
It seems like we don't have a lot of time before Thesekyra does what she'll do. So I think that Xenon and the group will hopefully do a quick huddle away from earshot of other people. And Xenon will say, "It seems as if we remove this pillar from the island that Thesekyra has. We may not fully restore the island to the intentions of Zeus or fully support Hera, but could be a middle way where hopefully we don't earn the ire of either of them." And he's going to kind of look to the group. Is that your estimation as well?
I believe if we get the pillar back and restore the matron, we may be able to persuade the Harpies to move to another island, which would be of benefit to Zeus and to Hera. I wonder still how Thesekyra was able to abscond with something that is so tall and so meaningful to this place.
Okay. It seems as though our next step. I was thinking our next step is to approach Thesekyra and see if we can't retrieve this pillar and arrest control of it. Seems as though we're all in agreement on that step.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Cool. So you all can sort of determine kind of the setup for this, but I'm going to go ahead and like lay out the contest so you can kind of describe how you work your way to it. But you are attempting to catch Thesekyra.
Okay.
Her ship is moving quickly, and in order to be able to have any sort of conversation with her, you have to catch up to it. Right. And it is bolstered by the Pillar of Storms at this point, making it that much more difficult to get close to, because there's now this constant storm that surrounds it and protects it as it moves. Okay. So let me get some attributes in here for Thesekyra. Thesekyra the Pirate Queen. I imagine you all are at sea already, kind of having begun your pursuit, and you can hear sort of over the wind. It's almost as if the wind itself blew this message to you. You hear this woman's voice kind of booming over the waves. And she says, "If you want the pillar, you'll have to catch me. But I wouldn't try it if I were you. Go home, heroes. This stretch of sea is mine." You can kind of, it's a very confident voice that kind of just booms out over the waves. And it seems almost amused as well. Right. This voice of this, like she is having fun. So Thesekyra the Pirate Queen has a name of a D8.
Yeah, and that definitely spurns Xenon to speed up the hunt and the pursuit. This is definitely this is one of the things that I would relish doing.
Right.
is chasing down prey
Um,
that is not meant to be caught, right? This would
Yeah.
almost be like a great beast in a way.
yeah, I don't think that Thesekyra is going to be shooting at you all, so I'll leave off that particular attribute of her. And I'm not going to consider this combat. This is a race almost.
Okay.
But as Xenon, as you are kind of thinking about this and like kind of rising to this challenge, you can feel like this emotion of like, this is a prey to be hunted, one that I must chase. Like, this is the hunt.
Right.
You hear kind of this voice kind of carried over the waves in a similar way, but it's very quiet, and it sounds almost bored, this particular voice, and it says like kind of a, oh, now you want to hunt. And you can see that the waves kind of get choppier around you, and the weather gets a bit worse as the divine wrath of Artemis manifests.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Xenon would absolutely respond to Artemis, and call out to her, and where is it? And I think Xenon would say, Artemis, your wrath is just and true and righteous, but I will prevail, and you will see it today.
Okay. Would you like to make this contest mythic? To kind of make a wager with Artemis?
I mean, I have 2 favors with her, so I kind of do.
Okay. Yeah.
Remind the audience at home, and surely not your players, what happens when a mythic happens.
So, when a contest is mythic, the player that makes it mythic, first of all, if you make a contest mythic, you must mark a divine favor to participate. So to sort of contend with the contest, you have to mark a divine favor. Just that's the pay to play. But if that same player prevails in the contest, they earn a bond with the deity whose attention they have drawn specifically to this contest. The rest of the players get to they still got to pay to play, but they don't necessarily get the bond. It kind of depends, because giving out 4 D12 bonds seems a lot to me. It depends on who's going to get in on the.
That's what we did last time.
Okay, yeah, If you, I guess, yeah, that makes sense, because if you're paying to play, right? If you're giving up your divine favor, you can get a little something in return. And maybe if you're lucky, Artemis will forgive you.
Right.
That's how gambling works.
Yeah.
I just wanted to add, like, you
but
throw
that
in
is,
something so you can.
Yeah, I will say though, that is not guaranteed that her wrath will go away, even if you prevail.
Right.
Because maybe she wants to beat up on you again. Maybe she likes having the excuse for it. It just kind of depends.
Yep.
See how you do, kind of deal. But yeah, with the divine wrath, I will mark this contest as mythic.
Okay.
Thesekyra the Cunning Pirate Queen. We will just roll strife. What kind of contest is this? Let's see. Does it say in the actual island description? Craft and reason. Oh. Cool. She also gets an advantage though, because you delayed, and she has the Pillar of Storms. So I'm just gonna say advantage. You only did like one thing though, so I'm just gonna make it a D8 advantage instead of a D10. She has a little bit of an advantage. Cancel that so I can get all the dice rolled. Yeah, craft and reason though is the default.
Okay. Yeah.
So you must at least use craft and reason, but if you can justify another domain and pay the pathos to use it, then you get that as well. Our target number is just 9. Wow.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, we're 3, 1, 4, and 2 plus 5. So my best roll was a 4.
Iron-minded Macaria will take up this challenge.
Excellent.
Oh,
Great
Boulder
Phaedros
like
will take up
Hilarion.
this challenge.
Phaedros must. It's your ship, I feel like.
Boulder like Hilarion will certainly take up this challenge.
Yeah.
There's a fight to go, boys.
And of course, Great Hunter Xenon. So everyone who is directly competing in the contest must mark a divine favor at this point. You can see that like not only is the weather getting a little choppy, that's like kind of a minor effect. The real thing is that you see that all manner of creatures of the sea have kind of congregated around your ship and are doing anything they can to delay you. So there are like sharks and squids and octopus and just all these different things that are like latching onto your ship and just causing problems.
Right.
Because Artemis she's taking her shot. She's like, oh, okay, now it's convenient for you, so you're gonna hunt. That's fine.
Right.
We'll see how that goes for you. Kind of deal. But the target number's low, so she must not have been that mad. Ooh, I remember Macario prevails with a 15. It's a good roll.
Wait, which kind is it?
It is craft and reason. Because you gotta outsmart. Her ship is faster than yours, and she is aided by Zeus. Well, aided by the power of Zeus, even though this is kind of a power that's been wrested from Zeus.
Right.
So I mean, her ship is faster. It's how do you outsmart her to catch her or kind of outmaneuver her. Okay, we have Phaedros with a 14. All right. Let's see.
And if I wanted divine favor, I have to spend another divine favor, right?
Yep. One is just to pay to play. The other one is I forgot to swap to our dice roller scene, but there we are. We're there now. Yeah, one's just to be in the contest at all, and the second one is to actually get the benefit. So.
Okay. Oh wow. Okay. I won't spend it.
Yep.
Okay.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's no good.
Damn, a 3?
All right.
I don't know.
So you're not really on the hook for any additional losses from suffering. But this may have some effects on your relationship with Artemis, which we can kind of figure out.
Okay.
Which that's the way of these things. And I want to kind of cushion it a bit by saying this is definitely not the first time you've disappointed Artemis.
Yeah. This is also not the first time I've made it mythic and been the only one who didn't get anything.
Yeah.
So I think that Xenon like falls off the boat and
Okay.
has to swim back to the island.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So recite your deeds then. Let's kind of start building this scene.
Yeah. So Artemis throws all these like crazy creatures at Xenon, right, and at the boat. And so Xenon's like, well, I'm a hunter. I know how to handle a bunch of weird creatures. And he stands at the edge of the boat with his bow and begins to hunt and kill the weird ones, the things he's never seen before. It's like, oh, I haven't killed that yet. I will do so now, right? Since Artemis is making it easy on me, that's what I'll do. And then this like blue whale buffets the boat, sending Xenon into the drink.
Yeah.
And Xenon must make their way back.
Yeah. And you do eventually make your way to shore, but you must fight like legion of these creatures to make it there. Yeah. Which in itself is significant to Artemis, and she may have some words for you once this situation is kind of dealt with. This does kind of exclude you from the next contest to actually speak with Thesekyra.
I think that's fine. Okay. Because I probably need a break.
Right. All right. Sounds good. Yeah. So yeah. Xenon is swept away, but must hunt many creatures. in order to survive and make it to the beach, which you do.
Cool.
And so that itself may be worth something to Artemis. The rest of you, though, have impressed her. So between Phaedras and Hilarion to go next, it's not a contest for who's best, so you can decide amongst yourselves who goes next.
I go first because I'll get us there, right?
All right, yeah.
Everybody else has more freedom for what they do. But yeah, Phaedros, in addition to spending to take part in the challenge, also ends up calling on his connection with his honored god of Poseidon to help,
That
help
makes
him
sense.
guide the ship, have the crew, do what they can to, if you sweep across the side with the burning coals, it'll get rid of these things, and, move the oars along here, and it'll drive the octopus back, and, until we get, up close, and, people are able to start, oh, I know there's a name for them, the long poles with the hook on the end to try to
Oh, yeah.
latch on to the side,
The
the
boarding
back
hooks
corner
and
of our
stuff like
ship.
that.
Yeah, so people can start to reach and kind of latch on and we're there kind of deal. And he'll
Great.
start trying to guide some of the mortal assistant fighter types to board.
Yeah, so take, what is it, half of 9, 5, rounded up. So 5 glory. And a bond with Artemis. She is impressed by your... she's impressed mostly by your sort of cunning with the way to deal with the creatures that she is sending at you. That it's not hunting them in the traditional sense one by one, but dealing with them kind of categorically. She finds that impressive, that knowledge. All right, next up we have Boulder Lake Hilarion. The ship has now breached the storm surrounding Thesekyra's ship and is kind of nearing it. What is Hilarion going to do to kind of make sure that you don't lose her again?
So Hilarion, he called upon not only a bond with his friend, the many-wayed Phaedras, to lead the ship, but he roared a rallying charge to the rowers and set the pace. Let's go. He was running up and down the side. He called upon Poseidon to help ease their way through, and the fortitude to keep the strength of the rowers going. He was like a dog ready to go hunt. He's, let's go, boys, let's go. He's charging forward at this and pushing and guiding everybody. Let's do it. Let's charge. He is raring for a fight, and let's do it. He can't wait to get this.
Yeah. Which leaves us with iron-minded Macaria, who prevails and is best, receiving all 9 glory.
Macaria stands where she has stood many times before, in the middle of the deck, sturdy, as the waves go, and that is partially what makes the men realize that they can get through this, is just the resolve of her standing upon the deck. But as they continue to get closer and these monsters are coming upon them, she craftily begins to speak loudly to those on the deck with her, the rowers and all. You really want to let a pirate get away. Think of the glory of the stories that will be told about us. If you row faster, if you push harder, we will make it, and we will catch a pirate queen.
Excellent.
Gets them to go fast.
And sure enough, you all are able to arrive at Thesekyra's ship. So, the question now becomes...
One quick question,
if
I may. 2 points. First of all, I'm sure that everyone ignored him, but Hilarion was shouting "ram them" the entire time.
Yeah.
Because
it's hard to ram a ship that's faster than you, but god damn it, they tried.
Ram them. But the important thing is, so I got a bond with. I also got a bond with Artemis and 5.
Yeah. So you get a bond with Artemis and 5 glory. Yeah.
Okay. So that puts me. So I already had 40, and that puts me at 82.
Me
Okay.
too.
So at 80, your name die increases to a D8. So go ahead and do that. And then completely clear your glory. So unmark 40, and you're back to 2. Just 2, period. And then your next upgrade is like at 120. Is how that works. So you go back to 0 glory total. Like you're at 0, but you have the D8 name die now.
Okay.
Cool.
And you still bond with Artemis.
Yeah, and a bond with Artemis. So this leads us into we're kind of at the point of battle. Because there's kind of a decision to be made here. You have reached the ship of Thesekyra, but how are you going to deal with her? Will you go into battle with Thesekyra and her crew in order to wrest the Pillar of Storms from her by force? Or will you seek to outwit the Pirate Queen and steal it back from her? With your skills of subterfuge and what have you. Or will you negotiate some kind of truce with Thesekyra and go to eradicate the Harpies? Or some other course of action. But I think we've entered kind of this realm of where it's time to kind of start the battle. Because now that you have caught up with Thesekyra, the simplest sort of sequence would be that you all go into a battle. Like, literally a clash of your 2 crews. Makes sense. Unless you all would like to have a different technique and maybe sneak onto the ship to steal the pillar. That's up to you all. Xenon, you're on the beach. You're on the beach, and oh wait, David can't even hear us. Actually,
Yeah, he does know his headset.
now he can hear us. Xenon, you're on the beach, and it is your crew and your companions have caught up to Thesekyra's ship, and it seems like it's kind of time to go into that final confrontation. Like it's time to something is about to happen big, right? So you know that we're mechanically we're going into the battle.
Okay.
The question is how we do that.
I don't know.
Right, you don't know, but you're the leader, and you're not there.
Right. I don't think Xenon is the leader, man. I've been trying to do stuff, and I don't know, man.
Okay. All right.
I think that I think if this is the final battle, I thought there would be other stuff to do. Then it is what it is. I don't think that Xenon can get there. I don't think that it makes sense for Xenon to participate because I don't know that Xenon has much of a place.
So I hear the like it's not possible kind of deal, but this is a mythic story.
Sure.
What is Xenon willing to give up or promise to be there? What would Xenon do?
Well, okay. So
Or what is Xenon doing? Because if the answer is nothing, Xenon feels defeated and dejected, that's totally valid. But there are other options. It's just a matter of, what are you putting on the table?
Sure. Xenon's honored god is Artemis.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is no longer Xenon's honored god. I think that he has heard the message loud and clear that the precision of Artemis is never going to visit him again. And that he will stand on the beach calling out to the gods, forsaking Artemis, and ask the gods, who among you would have me?
Okay. All right. So do you have any ideas?
No.
No, you don't? Okay.
I guess maybe like Ares, or honestly, Demeter for conviction.
Okay. Yeah. So all right, let's look at this really quick.
Maybe
He's
it's
also
Hephaestus.
on an
Hephaestus.
island dedicated to Hera.
Yeah, I'm gonna mess with the dice roller and stuff because I want to look at Xenon sheet, and we're gonna try to figure this out. I think this is an important moment, right? If you're gonna go as far as to forsake your honor, God, I think this is which one of those sort of domains is Xenon kind of feeling that he would be better suited to pursue?
Yeah, so if I look at things that Xenon has been doing, Xenon has been daring, try to use ingenuity, and has had conviction. So I think somewhere between Hermes, Demeter, and Hephaestus.
Okay.
I guess you're probably asking me to pick one. I guess.
Yeah, I'm sort of yeah, kind of.
I guess my parent, Demeter, for conviction.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense. You kind of rely on like, this is my parent. Other gods may forsake me, but this is my mother.
Right.
And surely she wouldn't. And I think like as you're standing on this kind of beach, just kind of, it's probably one of those situations where like they always describe it in the Bible as like in the Bible stories, it's like, you know, they're tearing their garments. They're kind of very like just this huge kind of like oh man, it's one of those scenes where like the hero just kind of yells at the sky, right? In this like moment of desperation. And I think it is your mother Demeter who kind of responds to your call. And you don't hear her voice, you don't see her figure or anything like that. You just find that as your sort of arms are kind of outstretched in this sort of like just cry to the heavens, you feel like kind of a weight in your hand. And you turn again, you can see that there is just a single flower that has been plucked from some verdant field and placed into your hand. And we can come up with what kind of flower that is later. I think there is some significance into what kind of flower this is. I just don't know about that enough about that kind of stuff to give you that. But this flower is, you know that this is significant because this is quite literally a gift from your mother. And like you feel that conviction kind of rise up in you that you want to do this, and that is enough. Like this is something you believe in, and that will be enough to allow you to do what it is you need to do. So I think that there is a point in this battle where you can participate. And we'll kind of figure out, I'll let you kind of figure out and negotiate like what makes the most sense. If it's not the clash, it might be one of the, you know, defend actions or even a seize action kind of deal. But I guess that leaves, I think that leaves our other three heroes to kind of decide what's done. You have no leader with you, but you are all heroes in your own right. And if two of you can agree, then a course of action can be set.
We attack.
Our choices are.
So you want the Pillar of Storms, as far as I understand.
Yes.
That is your goal, is to get the Pillar of Storms.
Yes.
The question is, are you going to fight and take it? Or are you going to outmaneuver and find some way to steal it? That's kind of your options. I don't feel like eradicating the Harpies, which is one of the options given in like kind of the module, is appropriate because you've kind of decided not to do that, I think, at this point. So the question comes in what approach you're taking to get the pillar. Because that is your goal, is to get the pillar. It's how you decide to do it.
I say we set ourselves up to attack, given the like stealing is really not the way that we came here. Like Mike said that he had them throw the hooks
Yeah.
onto the other ship so that we could pull forward. One of the other Mike has said that he's been running up and down the goddamn ship like a crazy person for the moment that we attack the ship.
Yelling ram the ship. So yeah.
Basically. So I think what I would tell the crew to do is ransack the ship, attack it.
Okay. All right.
If that's okay with the mics.
So in that case, this is a contest of blood and valor against Thesekyra the Pirate Queen. She's able to command the full power of the Pillar of Storms, which will give her
great.
It'll just give her a D10. It's not like the full. If you have to go against the Pillar of Storms itself, it's 2d10 mythic. But you're going against her crew at this point because you have made it through the Pillar of Storms before she got full control. But I definitely think this kind of takes the form of almost like a Pirates of the Caribbean 3 kind of situation where the wind has started to pick up in this like huge cyclone. And there is like a whirlpool that has started to form and your ships are circling while lashed together. We have to make this suitably, epic, this big this big battle. And it actually is epic mechanically. When Thesekyra has her crew beside her, all contests with her become mythic or epic. So yeah, we'll add a couple things here and then we'll be ready to roll up our difficulty for our clash. And just to remind everyone, in the clash, you all are fighting for an advantage as this battle will progress. So whoever prevails, whichever side prevails, whoever's best in this contest gets a D10 they can spend later as an advantage. As this initial clash between the two groups of you have given you or Thesekyra an advantage. So let's see, what is this other characteristic of Thesekyra? It is swift shooting. Swift shooting, which is worth a D8 and perilous. And because Thesekyra has her crew beside her in this combat, it is also epic. Meaning that you must spend a pathos to participate in the contest, and if you suffer, you must spend another. I think
you mentioned the D10. Is that to the group or to
the D10 is to whoever's best.
The best. Okay. Okay.
So yeah, I think that's Thesekyra's pool. She has her D8 name, D6 for cunning, D8 for swift shooting and perilous, and then a D10 for the Pillar of Storms, which is giving her an advantage, and her battle-hardened crew, which makes the entire contest epic. But it doesn't necessarily give a die. One thing, so this isn't going to affect this contest, but as you all hear, you can hear Xenon from the beach forsake Artemis in this moment of defeat. And though many of you have earned a bond with her, her wrath grows. As her honored champion, instead of rising to her challenges, has forsaken her instead. Which means that the next time she visits her wrath upon you all, it'll be a D10 instead of a D8. So only like a minor change, but so you all are fighting Thesekyra and her crew, so that sounds like blood and valor to me. Yeah, so we'll roll that up. The strife level is stayed at constant 5. So we got blood and valor. And I think if I scroll down, our target number is just 10, but it is epic and perilous. So, careful. There's not pathos on the line here. Up to 2 pathos on the line. And I think the option. So I'm gonna leave it in David in your court whenever you think it's appropriate for Xenon to begin taking part in this contest. Because you have been given a divine gift from Demeter, and she will aid you in your desires in this moment. Also, go ahead and change on your character sheet your honor god to Demeter, but you don't get any divine favor with her at this moment, but you can add it later. You've expanded your amount of divine favor with Demeter to 4 instead of 2. But yeah, who will face this contest of blood and valor against Thesekyra and her pirate crew?
Older like Hilarion will face this challenge.
Excellent. So anyone who is facing the contest, remember to mark a pathos.
Anyway, Phaedras will face the challenge. Gotta get some spear action in here.
That's right. Spear and shield. You didn't put it on there for nothing. Iron to Macario. What will she do?
Iron-minded Macaria will assist Hilarion.
Okay, so you'll support Hilarion. Hilarion, you get a copy of...
Wait, your die is blood and valor. I
Yeah.
will assist Phaedras.
Okay. And what domain are you going to support Phaedros with?
I can give him any of my domains, right? So
I think so, yeah. As long as you can justify it, like how that is
resolve in
helping
spirit.
Phaedros. Okay. Great.
Because I'm just steadworthy. Steadfast.
Steadfast, yeah.
Well, there's also all this supernatural stuff happening around this pillar. I mean, there's lots of...
There's lots of magic in the air, and being
Mhm.
able to contend with that is for sure a boon.
And I get a bond, right? Yep.
Yep, you get a bond with Phaedros and 1 glory. All right, so it seems that we have 2 heroes that are going to face this contest. You may test your fate. Let's see what the fates have in store for our heroes. I like how we can blame everything on the fates in this game.
A quick question.
Mm-hmm.
You said that we have drawn the ire of Artemis, and he has, and Xenon
Mostly
has,
Xenon, but it reflects on the whole crew. But
Yeah,
So can I still spend a bond?
My shitty luck is making it shitty for everybody. Very sorry, guys.
Gotcha.
It's fine.
it might not
hasn't,
come up
David.
for 3
It's
sessions.
fine.
It's just a D10.
Yeah.
It came up the next possible session.
Yeah. Well,
If I call on a bond with another character, I get their name die.
yeah, you get their name die.
Okay.
So at this point, Hilarion is like the one to call on because I think is Hilarion the only one who has a D8 name die at this point, or
no, Macaria also.
oh, Macaria, right? Okay, so yeah, those 2 are your ones to call on, right, to bolster you. But you can still call on a bond with Artemis.
Okay.
The kind of the idea of the way the gods work in this game is that they are very case by case. They don't just make a decision and stick to it. They're like, okay, Xenon's pissed me off. I'm a little mad now. Oh, but I like Hilarion. He's funny. He did all that great battle just a while ago, so I'll help him out. Yeah, that's fine. Like, they don't. The ideas that mortals have of like what is it to be angry, what is it to be happy, satisfied. The gods work on a slightly different system. So, oh wow, we have 2 10s, which leaves us with Iron-minded Macaria to roll. But yeah, you guys can go ahead and roll.
I
your
assisted.
name.
She was
You
assistant.
assisted, right? Okay, yeah. So yeah, you guys need to roll off with your name dice. And see who is best. There's no ties. There's no participation ribbons. All right. Looks like Hilarion's going to be best on this one, but let's start with Many-Wade Phaedros. You prevail.
Yes, I prevailed. I've been bolstered by this information from Iron-minded Macaria. I called upon my bond with Boulder like Hilarion, who's like this great warrior. So it's like, oh, clearly that is like going to help direct me in how to fight these people here. But yeah, help clear a path up the deck between where we land, where like kind of the little scrub sailor dudes are fighting, up towards
Scrubs,
where
that's
it is
appropriate.
actually
The red shirts.
Yes.
Skyria. Hey! Our tabber's on the ship. We're that color before. Don't make fun of it. But to like kind of like carve that path towards Thesekyra and where the pillar's actually at.
Yeah. And you can see as you all kind of make your way onto the deck of this ship, you can see that the stone pillar has been lashed to the central mast. These are triremes, which I think to my knowledge have 3 masts. They're kind of the larger ships. Hers is no different. Yeah, and you can see that her crew, it's very similar to your ship. It's almost like disturbingly similar. That this is a pirate, this is a vicious pirate, and you all are great heroes, and you have like the same stuff. Like there are the coal pits, the hot coals for flaming arrows, and all of the same sort of workings that you would have on your ship. But this stone pillar with these this like intricately carved landscape of harpies among a storm, and there's kind of one central harpy that is being sort of pulled to the ground, is what you can see, and you would recognize that is like the symbol of this mother of harpies that has been captured within this pillar. So that brings us to Hilarion, who prevails and is best.
So just to verify, I know this is the clash and not the final showdown.
Mm-hmm. So you're gaining an advantage.
Is the showdown going to be against the Pirate Queen?
Yeah, now we're kind of in that you've chosen your opponent for this battle. So Thesekyra is your opponent for the duration.
I didn't know if Hilarion was supposed to like not, because like normally my idea would be he's going to go charge the Pirate Queen and kill her. But if that's not what this victory was
so yeah, this victory is gaining an upper hand.
Okay.
Is like your primary. So you might have her kind of on her like kind of backpedaling on her back foot. Mm-hmm. But you haven't defeated her yet. Okay. You've just made her resort to something else to try to she's had to kind of go to her plan B because you've won this clash.
So Hilarion has called upon his bond with Artemis. He's heard her forsaken by the great hunter Xenon, but he wants her to know that we are supplies. And this is still a hunt. This is nothing gets the blood boiling like a good hunt, and he's charging in there. He is also called on a bond with Mac because he spent a lot of time around her, and this is a pirate queen, so she's going to be a wily woman, and he spent some time with a wily woman now, so he's calling on that bond to give him an idea of what dirty underhanded tricks might be played. So
I feel like this just turned sexist real quick.
No, it's a point of honor. This is Hilarion we're talking about.
That's how you okay.
Okay.
We'll talk about this later, dear. It's okay.
Oh no, not the marriage counseling coming up in the D&D game. No, not we're playing AGON. Never mind.
That comes tomorrow, Ethan. Different.
Yeah, that's just me that gets into marriage counseling in D&D. I guess I don't know.
No, Hilarion is he's he's used to being around a strong woman, and so he understands how this one's going to work. Is that the better way to put it? That's how we're going to.
Nice save.
That's what he meant the whole time.
Backpedal, sir. Good backpedal.
Sweet save.
But Hilarion he's like a big old boulder just rolling across that ship, just knocking everything off either side as he goes. He probably should have gone for the pillar. In fact, Many-Way Phaedros probably thought that we were both going to the pillar. Hilarion never got that memo. there's a pirate queen over there, and we have to attack the pirate queen. That's the point. So he's charging. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And so you've got Thesekyra kind of on her back foot, because Hilarion's actions were unexpected. She was ready to kind of protect the pillar, to do things like that, but kind of blindsided her. So Hilarion, you get a D10 advantage die to sort of hold on to for the rest of the battle, which moves us on to like our middle phase, which is our seize and defend phase. So now I get to name a few things that are going to happen unless you stop them. So the first of these is that Thesekyra's vicious pirate crew is going to board your ship and just slaughter your sailors. You will have no sailors to row if they succeed in this, which will put you, you'll be in a bit of difficulty. Her crew is also preparing flaming arrows that will surely sink your ship if they're not stopped. And those are kind of the two threats. So you're threatened to lose your ship, and you're threatened to lose the men who row your ship, which both of those are kind of crippling as far as your naval capabilities go. So those are the threats. So now is the time when all four of you, because I think Xenon can definitely find a way to get in here in one way or another. All four of you now get to choose and divide yourselves between the seize contest to determine sort of what consequences Thesekyra will face, and what the stakes are of the finale, and the defend contest to prevent these threats from coming to pass. And it is really, it's up to you all to decide what these contests look like. What are you doing to kind of prevent these things? I will go ahead and roll. It's the same. It's kind of the same deal. Like it's the same kind of or is at least the same roll for both. Like it's the same stakes. I'll roll twice. But we always start with the defend contest. And so that target number I'll get up here, and I'll label it as any domain. However you choose to defend against these. And remember that if you prevail in the defend contest, you can prevent one consequence. But you don't have to pick beforehand. All right. So the target number is 12 for our defend contest. So who will be taking part in our defend contest? We'll start there.
Xenon will defend.
Okay, Xenon. Great hunter Xenon.
So
I think Phaedras will defend too.
Okay.
So
All right.
there are two defend things, and then the attack action is
the seize contest.
okay. So
We got two people defending, and we can do two people seizing,
Cool. Works for
and
me.
that covers everything, right?
Got that?
Ethan?
Yeah, that covers everything. So there's only two threats. So if both of you prevail in this contest, then your threats will be good. We'll be good on those. So yeah, let's start with that defend contest. Let's remember, you can call on bonds with people who aren't participating in this contest, and they can still help in their own way. Just kind of weave them into the narrative. So, Phaedras and Xenon. You may test your fate.
Yes. Be good. It's gonna be great. It's fine. It's under control.
It is important to note, so all of these are epic. You're facing Thesekyra and her crew.
Which means that we have to spend a pathos.
You have to spend a pathos to participate, and if you suffer, you spend another. Thesekyra has her bloodthirsty crew at her side. And she is kind of laughing in this maelstrom. As your ships are threatened to be pulled under at any moment, but they continue to circle this immense whirlpool. And she is kind of laughing and draws her. She has like this. It's kind of a short sword, and then this shield that has like chains on it. That can very easily like kind of capture weapons if she turns her arm just right as she blocks. So she is a formidable fighter just in her own right without her crew. But her crew's with her as well. So whenever you all have major decisions on what you'll be using, you can test your fate.
Spending a bond with a god is a D10?
D12.
D12. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
And then we talk about how they actually manifest, because it is a pretty direct manifestation of that god's power when you use a bond.
Hold on, and then there's one more contest after that, after the defend stuff.
Yeah, so the defend. So the only other contest that you'd be able to take part in is the finale contest. Where like, you guys all come back together and unite to do this thing, right?
Yeah, I'll wait for that then. Okay.
I will call on the bond with Artemis and use a bond with Iron-Minded Macaria.
Okay. Great. All right, let's see where the old bones fall. We've got to prevail.
Find favor.
You'll love to see that. Oh,
Keep
2.
tying. Everybody keeps tying.
You guys have to roll off with your name dice now. What are your name dice? Is it still D6 for both of you?
I'm still a D6, yeah.
Okay. Ooh. David coming in with a 6. It is time for that. Oh, okay.
Oh!
Let's try it again. 5. Ooh, strong. Oh my God. Roll 20, please.
Roll 20 is broken.
Roll 20, please. I feel like no matter what, okay, look, that's enough. I can't do this anymore. I just can't. Look, here's what's gonna happen. David, stop rolling. It's non-game. I think you guys are both gonna get the full glory for this, just because I think that's, if we roll the same thing 3 times in a row, like that's it. We're good.
Okay.
We're done. We're good.
4 times in a row.
Yeah.
Because a main roll 2 was tied.
Yeah. That's 4 times. That's enough. The fates have spoken. To roll anymore would be folly before the gods. So yeah, I think I don't know if this has ever happened, but you both are gonna be best. You're gonna like tag team the hell out of this. And so that means both threats get to be dealt with. So now you guys can kind of do this in tandem. I think it would be really fun to just kind of pass it back and forth and take care of Thesekyra's crew. They've been readying flaming arrows. They've been threatening to board your ship and slaughter your crew. How does this happen? And I think let's start with Xenon, because Xenon, you've got to get there. How do you get there?
He doesn't get there. No.
He doesn't? What does he do?
No, Xenon has been on this voyage for way too long and has been tinkering on Phaedros' ship since the beginning. Phaedros' ship, the sails have been treated with a thick wax that breaks in the wind and still allows the sails to work. They're difficult to work with, but when flame visits those sails, the wax covers the arrows and douses it. The crews know how to handle those flaming arrows as they come across. This is something that Phaedros that Xenon has been preparing the crew for. And so as those flaming arrows visit the ship, they are all doused with craft and reason that Xenon has put forth and prepared them for a long time now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
All right, great.
that is the way that Xenon's inventions and machinations have saved this ship from the flaming arrows.
Yeah, and it's in the conviction of Demeter is apparent in this preparation, in this prioritization of protecting the ship and the crew. These things have already been done, and that is just another example of Xenon's conviction and dedication to this crew. Yeah, so that's one consequence dealt with. Was Phaedros. That leaves the murderous crew of Thesekyra's ship.
They are preparing there's like a commander leading several of these people to try to head across this little ramp to board our ship, which probably needs a name. But I think there's kind of this moment where he kind of kicks and the spear pops up and pulls it. He's like, and like you just get that like shaft of light as like Artemis just like right,
Yeah.
and he hurls the spear, and it's like through two of the guys in the head into like those commanders like starting to go up that board to cross, and like pegs into his leg, so he's got like people strapped to him as he's like stabbed here, and they all go into the drink where there's like these
Yeah.
thrashing sharks and all these other things there. The board
Yeah.
falls down into the water. It's like they like effectively don't have a great path in, and they've seen several of their people like die in like one swoop there.
And
Trying to like
let's
help.
let's not forget that the ship is still circling this maelstrom that is also filled with sharks and squids and dangerous animals of the sea. And so these sailors that these pirates
can
that
we
have
get, like-
fallen over.
Can we get a Sharknado?
Yeah,
Like-
absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's like a
That's-
waterborne Sharknado. Like it doesn't go up above sea level, but like definitely once you get down under, it's pretty severe. As the storm rages, and these pirates, they have no hope once they have hit this water. Which brings us now to our seas contest. And I will roll again. Same modifiers, still epic, still perilous. All of the same stakes.
All right, I'm
but
gonna
this
take 1
time-
second to poke at my glory because that did just
Yeah.
put me over to.
Nice. Yeah,
Um,
so
restarting.
well, David has stepped away, but you take the full. What was the target number there?
10.
12. So yeah,
rolls-
you take the full 12.
Oh, it was 12. Okay.
So you go up to 80, clear it, and
Yeah,
then
it
you
rolls me
whatever's
over,
left.
so I have
Roll over.
11,
Mhm.
and then I need to clear all the rest of these guys out.
Yeah.
All right, and our target number for the seas contest is a 13 as Thesekyra kind of digs in and tries to sort of determine her own fate. She's fighting hard for it, which leaves boulder-like Hilarion and iron-minded Macaria to face this challenge and seize control of the battle.
Oh, absolutely. Hilarion is going to charge this evil pirate.
Yeah, I'm assuming with probably blood and valor, right? Just a fighter.
Definitely.
Iron-minded Macaria. I'm curious. What tact will Macaria take?
I'm going to take resolve and spirit.
Okay.
As I try to, I think, attack this from taking away her source of power.
So you're trying to like almost kind of wrest control of the Pillar of Storms.
Yeah, and her crew by her defeat.
Yeah. Sweet. Also, David, now that you're back, you get the full 12 glory for that contest. Yeah, I'm gonna say both of you guys were best because that's just too many same rules. I just can't ignore it. All right, so Hilarion and Macaria, you may test your fate.
So do I use the D10 now?
You can, or you can save it for the finale contest. That's the game, right? Is when do I want to use this advantage?
And we have to spend a pathos to get into
Yeah,
this
you have to spend a
battle.
pathos to even do it. And remember, when you mark your 5th pathos, you go into agony, and you also mark your first fate box. Unless you've already marked your first fate box, but you just mark a fate box in general when you go into agony. And then any pathos expenditures.
I'm there then.
You're there then? You're at 5.
Mhm.
5? Okay, yeah. So when you mark your
Got there-
5th.
I got there on this contest
Okay.
because I had to spend the pathos to get in,
Right.
and that put me at 5. So
Oh, sweet.
what is the-
Jesus.
So if you mark a
Oh, I've
fate,
been trying really hard.
if you
I've been adding pathos every time to try and not fail. So yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
so if you mark a fate box that has a like dark circle in it,
Yep.
that means you get a boon. And there's a list of boons on your character sheet that you can choose from.
There's like 4, or is it?
Yeah, you
4
pick.
or
There's
6?
like 2 separate lists. Let me get your.
Because there's like boons and then a line and then 3 more things.
Yeah, so you have to get like all the ones above that line before you do the ones below that line.
Okay, perfect.
So you can either advance a D8 domain to a D10, advance a D6 to a D8, advance your epithet to a D8, or add a whole other epithet. Which I think there's a strong case for adding an epithet now that you've kind of pivoted, but that might not be the way
Don't you
wanna
get to
go.
like get rid of an epithet?
Yeah,
and
you
do
can
a
also
whole new
change
epithet?
that in
Change
the
epithets
that's the
between-
reflection. That's the reflection phase.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
between,
yeah.
so.
I'm no longer Great Hunter Xenon after this, so
Gotcha. Sweet.
Yeah.
Love it. So you can advance. So if you advance an epithet, when you change it, you keep that advancement. So just whatever you choose from there.
perfect. Thanks.
So we've got Hilarion at least has prevailed. How about Makaria?
I'm going to push myself into agony by doing this. So
Sweet.
I'm
Take your
making sure.
boon, I guess.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to mechanically. Do I want to? Can I change that before I make this roll? Or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'll say so because you're spending the pathos before you actually roll for the contest. I think you get the benefits of that boon.
Okay, I'm advancing my epithet to a
Sweet.
D8.
Sweet. That makes sense. Iron Minded has pretty much doubled down.
You're muted, babe.
So it's good to go into agony.
It's good
Once.
to go into agony sometimes. Well, okay, so every single one of those kind of blocks in the fate track that has a dot in it is going to give you a boon. And that's not the only way you can get boons, but that's one of the main ways you get boons. So, like, you do want to push your hero to their limits sometimes. But if you hit the end of that fate track, you're done. We recite your legend in there. You know.
Sorry. Can I
Go
also
ahead.
call my bond with Phaedros
Yeah.
during this? And what's your name, die, Mike?
If you call,
Phaedros?
yeah, name die.
It's
Or is it name? Yeah. D8.
Yep.
Okay, and then I will do that, and still fail.
Suffers, but just barely.
Sweet.
So
I'm
you will mark
2
another fate, yeah, because you're out
Mm-hmm.
of pathos. All right, so Makaria, we'll start with you. Describe how you try to seize control of the situation but fail, or at least you suffer. You might not fail, but you suffer because someone else prevailed.
So Makaria was attempting to get to the Pillar of Storms, and as she was doing that, she was orating of how the Pirate Queen would rue this day, how they were going to take over, and her voice is just lost against the clashing of arms and the storm around them and the monsters of the sea, and her words carry no weight, even though she is on the pirate's ship.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and I think you see Thesekyra kind of the Pillar of Storm. Just your oration is kind of starting to bend the will of the pillar. But you see Thesekyra kind of like lean on the pillar, and this like kind of lightning kind of arcs to her. You can see that she is emboldened by this pillar, for sure, even in single combat. But Hilarion, what do? You prevail and are best. So how do you face this situation? You seize control of the battle.
Hilarion had 2 bonds with Artemis. He used one to get here. He used the next one to continue on because we're going to finish this hunt. And he also called upon bond with Phaedros because they spent a lot of time on that boat. He's learned how to move on a ship as it's twisting and turning, and he's got sea legs now. You know, some of the terminology he doesn't have, but he does have sea legs. It's easy. It came natural to him because it's rolling, and he is like a boulder. So he has that, you know, and it's kind of like, you remember those labyrinth games that you would play where you put the marble on and you tilt the thing back and forth? That's Hilarion going across this shit. It's just like a wrecking ball of destruction across here, people going off. And he gets to this pirate queen, and he just there's no discussion, there's no braggarts. It's just he's just gonna kick her off.
All right. Do you kick her off of the ship?
Yeah.
Okay. So she falls overboard. Now we go into the finale. As a group, you all now get to determine what are the stakes. What is going to happen to Thesekyra? What's going to happen to the pillar if you prevail? And that is all 4 of you. And Xenon, don't be afraid to charge into the scene. We'll make it work narratively. If Xenon needs to be there, Xenon can be there because that's just how powerful you guys are.
Sure.
But what do you guys think the stakes should be? What's going to happen to Thesekyra if you prevail, and what's going to happen to the pillar if you prevail?
Hilarion does not see going back to, like, he doesn't want to anger Zeus by giving the pillar back to them. Hilarion wants to throw the pillar into the sea. That's because then it's now it's Hera's island can live on Hera's thing and not have this protection that would allow pirates to come in and maybe make Hermes happy. They're on their own defending that, and the thingies aren't mad. Now he might be convinced that maybe we could take this for ourselves, but every time there's been a storm at sea, Phaedras is cursed. He does not appear to like storms, so we're pretty sure that storms are bad. So we're just going to kick it off into the sea.
And if we kept this, we could control the storms.
Right. Never have a storm affect you again.
You remember that time we spent 3 days stuck in a dead calm in the middle of the ocean, and there was no wind, and it sucked? Never happens again.
But I had some great fishing, and the fish was good.
We could destroy it and perhaps free the Harpy Queen and remove the Harpies to another island. I fear that if we do anything but try to restore the Harpy Queen or give the item to the Harpies, that they will descend upon the town.
Xenon, how do you arrive at this discussion? How is in what way has Demeter aided you in arriving at your ship in the midst of this intense storm?
So Demeter is the goddess of like harvest and
the seasons
and all that stuff.
Agriculture. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think that Xenon had spent some time with this flower that appeared in his hands and planted it on the beach. And a like thick seaweed starts to bloom up from the waters, creating this like path of foliage.
Yeah.
And then there's like these big lily pads that emerge as well, and Xenon is able to physically run all the way to the boats.
What color is this flower? We don't have to know what species it is, but what color is it? Because I think this color kind of recurs in these plants.
Got it.
Because this is now Xenon's. Like this
Right.
is significant to Xenon and Xenon's legend. Is this flower?
Yeah. Let's call it like.
It doesn't have to be one that exists, but
yeah, let's call it like a lavender.
Okay.
Like a muted purple.
Yeah.
Situation.
A deep purple that kind of, and impossibly these sort of lavender sprigs are present in these lily pads and in these, and like almost like lavender tends to grow like in wild fields.
What? Sorry,
Right.
I just want the color. I just want the color of lavender.
What is the
So
flower?
maybe
look then?
like the flower is more like a big lotus that opens
Okay,
up
sweet.
with those big thick petals
Yeah.
that comes out.
Yeah.
So it's like the lily pad, and then these lotuses are blooming. These big purple lotuses.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you get these like purple purple flowers and lotuses and lily pads, and like they just make this bridge for you.
Okay.
And you run with every bit of strength and conviction within you to reach this maelstrom in your ship.
Right.
And you do, as your fellow heroes are deciding sort of what to do with Thesekyra and how to win this. What's going to happen? Determine the fate of this island. What does Xenon think?
So Xenon thinks that Hera has been wronged, and she needs her comeuppance, and she was wronged by Thesekyra. So Xenon thinks that Thesekyra should be turned over to the priests of Hera to be dealt with, educated, whatever they need.
All right. That is the leader has spoken. So if we are to do anything other than that, a bond must be spent.
Let's do what the leader has stated. I mean, the amazing feat that got him here.
What about the pillar? Do we have to decide what happens with the pillar?
Yeah.
Too?
So this is the stakes here are also what happens to the pillar.
Okay. I think that the pillar comes with us.
Okay.
Because that was one of the conditions the Harpies laid out, is that if we take the pillar away, they will not attack the town.
Yeah, if you take the pillar away or if you restore their matron.
Right.
Right, that's kind of the deal.
Hilarion would like to point out that he wanted to throw two different things into the sea, and you guys don't want to let him throw either of them into the sea.
So you have thrown Thesekyra into the sea. You did do that.
You have done that.
Yeah.
We're just not leaving her in the sea.
We'll see what happens in a moment vis-a-vis Thesekyra in the sea. But
if you guys want to keep the big, I think it's a bad idea. But you know what? If that's what we want to do, then that's what we want to do. Okay with it.
So what I understand is the stakes here is that Thesekyra is turned over to the Temple of Hera for re-education, just community service at the least. At the very least, she has to do some community service. Her crew, most of them are at the bottom of the ocean right now.
Right.
So she's not exactly going to be doing a lot of pirating regardless. But yeah, to sort of put her fate in the hands of the Temple of Hera, and the pillar is to come with you all. Okay, that sounds good to me. So now we go into our finale contest.
One question. It seems like her boat is up for grabs.
It absolutely is.
I mean, to the what was the phrase given? Spoils to those who deserve them.
There you go.
I think we're going to steal this boat if it all works out.
Great.
Because most of her crew is in the drink or dead.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We have a functioning boat and maybe a second functioning boat at the end of this. Okay.
All right.
Maybe we can find some way to combine them and make a bigger boat.
Kind of.
It was faster. We could have 6 masks, Phaedra. 6 masks.
Phaedra's doing the nautical math, just like.
But we it would work, but we would definitely need the pillar to power it all.
Yeah. Great. So, as you all prepare for this finale contest, you get to decide the domain as well. I will say, to set the scene, Thesekyra, having been thrown overboard, you see her rise. Not in the water, but as if carried on air, as she has wrested full control of the Pillar of Storms. Macaria, who had tried to take this control from her, had not succeeded. And so she has almost, in many ways, been replaced by the Pillar. With her being, like, you can see that her eyes shine with this light of that sort of crackles with lightning, and she floats, and that there are these almost, they call it the Lichtenberg figure, right? these scars that look like lightning bolts that now cover her body as though the lightning has kind of passed through all of her. And she's ready to fight, but what is the domain here for this finale battle? Is it blood and valor? Are you going to take her on physically? Craft and reason, you will trick her in some fashion to get her to relinquish power of the pillar. Resolve and spirit to weather the storm until she burns herself out, or maybe even arts and oration to try to appeal to her and say this is not the way. So what domain are we going to hit here?
I think craft and reason. If I have a say in that one, I'll vote for craft and reason.
You are the leader, so
Okay, then it's craft and reason.
okay. Does anyone want to spend a bond to sway that in any way?
No.
Okay.
Spend
That
a
was the
pesos
saddest no.
to add blood and valor, honey.
Yeah, you could just spend the pathos, maybe even get a boon out of it because you've spent so many. Let's revisit what characteristics are appropriate for this finale contest. Because her crew has largely been dealt with. So I'm going to remove the epic tag here. But what crew remains is still swift shooting, and so it is still perilous. And she has wrested full control of the Pillar of Storms, perhaps at the expense of her own humanity. So I think she retains that D10 advantage from the Pillar of Storms. But this will just be perilous. And we'll roll strife here for craft and reason as you all try to avoid sort of this avatar of the fury of the storm that she has become and bring her to justice. Our target number here is 13. As she calls on the full might of the Pillar of Storms to try to sink you all, her ship included. So, and just to kind of talk about here, so finale, you won the seas contest, so you've determined the stakes. She can't do a lot to really just, like, the worst that can happen is that she gets away with the pillar at this point.
Okay.
Right, because of the stakes that have been laid out, the worst that happens is she manages to elude you with the pillar. Not your ship gets destroyed, not your crew gets killed, nothing like that. But she might escape. Not as Thesekyra the Pirate Queen, but as Thesekyra, Voice of the Storm at this point. As she's become something else. So now everyone can assemble their dice pools, decide what you will be using for this contest, and then we will face it.
So you said it was craft and reason, right?
Craft and reason is the required domain. You can add others by spending pathos.
Well, of course I'm going to spend extra pathos.
Yeah, and whenever you all are ready, first of all, I guess I should ask who will face this contest of craft and reason against Thesekyra the Storm Herald.
I'm not done fighting. There's still more fighting.
We have Xenon, perhaps not the great hunter any longer. We'll find out. Maybe even next week we'll find out. I'm not sure how much of the interim phase I want to do tonight since we're already past 11. But Xenon will face this challenge. If we have Phaedras, Hilarion, what if Macaria do?
Macaria was gonna assist Xenon, but that doesn't need to happen.
That doesn't. Yeah, no.
Can't really help Mike anymore. I don't really want to fail. I'm gonna pass it to Hilarion.
Okay, so you're gonna support Hilarion, so you'll gain a bond with Hilarion, and lend Hilarion a domain die.
Mhm.
If I use a bond with a deity, what do I get?
A
A
D12
D12. And you get a D8 from me.
for which domain?
Oh, I forgot it was a domain. I thought it was a name.
Yep. domain.
I think it's a resolve in spirit, like
Okay.
right?
To
'Cause he can
withstand the
resolve
storm, right?
Yeah.
All right. Great. All right, Hilarion. Let's see. Oof, an 11. Okay. So we'll start with a mini weight Phaedros. You suffer in this contest, which means you must mark a pathos, because it is perilous. Swift
So,
shooting.
okay, so I have to mark a pathos, and I spent a pathos, which was the one that ticked me over to agony and fate. So does that
So
tick
then you
fate?
mark the second fate. Yeah, if you can't mark pathos, you mark fate.
Okay.
Yeah. So what happens to Phaedros? What does Phaedros do?
Phaedros was trying to call on he was spending pathos to also be able to try to call on resolve and spirit to try to understand the supernatural working of the pillar, right? Like understand what is going on with the connection there. Is there a way to break it? Is there a way to take it over? Something like that. And he called upon his bond. He also called upon his bond with Apollo for that additional knowledge. I don't think Apollo wanted to be called on for that additional knowledge that was like really Hera's doing, right? Like,
but how does Apollo manifest? Because calling on a bond means that the god manifests in some way. It might not be in full body, but it is something is clear that the gods are here and listening. So what does Apollo do, even though it doesn't necessarily work out? And that could be anything from the sun to music to medicine. You know, any of Apollo's sort of domains.
yeah, I kind of feel like maybe it's like the pillar like glows with like the brightness of the sun, and that's like like basically just like Phaedros is just like blinded by the whole deal.
Yeah, because I
like,
think maybe
I have stared into the glory of a god, and like no, it didn't go well.
Yeah, maybe Phaedros even asked like to be shown the power of the pillar, that you could sort of track it and find out, you know, where it's going, like what. And then Apollo was like, "Okay, you shall see." And like the light was even too bright for you to follow, and it kind of got in your way. But yeah, okay. Is there anything else that goes on?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
he
that
just falls to his knees. That's it.
that brings us to Hilarion with an 11.
Hilarion called upon a bond with Demeter because she had just helped. Like just she's obviously in the area. You know, she's local,
paying attention.
She's here, and she just made this big seaweed thingy come up so that Xenon could run up here. So he's like, "We've got this chick that I kicked off the boat. She's over there. I want to go beat her up. I can't get to her because she's floating in the water. Maybe you could help me."
She's like on a pillar of water and wind, like floating above it. Like she is kind of doing that whole weird storm avatar kind of thing.
See, this is the
difficult
problem.
To get to though.
Hilarion he doesn't always think things all the way through. He's like, I just saw Xenon run up on this big seaweed thingy. So he kind of calls upon Demeter to maybe keep that seaweed thingy there. And he's going to jump down on it and try to run over to her and run over to the bad person and attack them. The problem with the seaweed is slippery, and Hilarion is a boulder. And he is not as fleet-footed as Xenon. That is not his gift. Xenon ran across this stuff. He made it look real easy. And that may have been to Hilarion's detriment, because he's like, you never said this stuff was like slippery. And so he's fall. He didn't completely fall. He fell into the water, but he grabbed hold and he's able to climb his way back up. But he wasn't able to get out there to do the fight.
Right. It wasn't able to really get to this like pillar of water and storm that Thesekyra is kind of inhabiting. But that brings us to Great Hunter Xenon, who prevails and is best. With the blessing of Demeter seemingly at your back. How do you subdue
the bond
Thesekyra?
of Demeter was certainly spent here as well.
What do we roll with that bond? I'm curious.
Along with a divine favor from Hephaestus. So I think that Xenon, having made it here, the plants didn't stop growing. They've enveloped the ships with these like thick vines and these like big stalks of wheat and barley, right?
Yeah, stuff that has no business to be growing in the middle of the ocean, but that doesn't matter.
Right.
Because God said it would, so it did.
Exactly. And Xenon is stubborn if nothing else. So presses forward the advantage, and as like these plants are like jutting in all directions, helping Hilarion, get to his prey. They're also like getting onto the deck of the boat, of her old boat, of the pirate vessel, and like with this brilliant light of Apollo, these plants are like drawn to it and begin to choke it. And as their vines are wrapping around, and as the leaves are like starting to obscure the light, they're all turning in to soak up as much of that like hot sunlight that they possibly can. You can see that like her control over it begins to wane, like as it gets consumed by these plants, it impacts her connection to it.
Right.
And Xenon is able to get her ensnared in this like bridge of plants that Hilarion was creating. They just continued to grow and eventually lashed onto her and dragged her down and imprisoned her in these like thick thorny vines.
All right.
I don't think that Xenon did a whole lot. I think it was a lot of calling upon the favor of Hephaestus to like provide some unique out of the box solutions to this, and just the raw power of Demeter and her command over the fruit of the earth.
Right. Yeah. Great. So you all have prevailed in the finale after seizing control in the sort of middle phase, right? Which means that this is exactly the outcome you want for the fate of this island. And I think, because I would love to kind of spend a session really fleshing out your characters, I think we might save the Exodus. We might save the Exodus for next session. And I think it'd be fun to end here on like Thesekyra wrapped in these plants, these just impossible plants that have grown maybe even out of the deck of her ship. The pillar of storm, she's been cut off from it by these choking vines. And our scene for the evening kind of ends with her just kind of looking up at you all and saying, well, what's next? You've got me. And she looks weak. She looks tired. This pillar of storms clearly took a lot out of her to use it, to such a degree. So next week, when we come back, we will determine the fate of the island. You all will make your exodus. You'll leave. You'll be able to reflect on your epithets and figure out, maybe there's some changes that need to happen. And then, we can have our fellowship phase, our sacrifice phase, and, find our way to our next island. But I think next session I'd like to spend a little downtime, and we might explore some scenes from your past as well and stuff like that. Take a bit more of a hands-on approach to the voyage phase, I think, to fill a whole 3 hours. I think would be fun. At least once we'll do it like that. So
Thanks, Ethan.
that's it. You guys did it. You won the finale. Congratulations.
Yay.
You've done it. In one day, we finished an island.
That was amazing.
Huzzah. Granted, we're not ready to do the next island in the single session, which I think is the most efficient form of play, is island voyage per session. But we do things.
We'll get it. We'll get there. We'll get that efficiency.
Maybe. I mean, it's fun to not have that efficiency, though, I think, too, because you get to really savor it, right? But yeah, I get a whole week to think about what gods you've pleased and which ones you've pissed off, because it's a lot more than what is originally intended by this particular island module. I think there's been some other gods that have been brought in and have opinions on what's happened here. So, yeah, that's all I've got. So I'll turn it over to you, David, to do your host with the most kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure thing. So, hey, everybody, thanks a ton for tuning in. We are, of course, playing this every Saturday, and we will be back on Monday playing some Shadowrun put on by Katrina. This will be session numero uno. This will be the first session. They did character creation a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, gonna be on the streets of Seattle in the the sixth world? Is that what it is?
Yep,
Yeah,
it's the sixth one.
yep. And then on Wednesdays we play as the marvelous murder mavens of Brindlewood Bay, put on by Mike Rachelson
Isn't
here.
it Mystery Mavens?
Oh, is
Because
it? I
Murder
thought
Mavens.
Murder Mavens is the name of the group. I think that's the name of the book club.
I
It's the
thought
Murder
so.
Mavens,
Yeah.
because they're all
That
murder
kind of makes
mysteries.
it sound like we did it, though.
Yeah, it does, but
Well,
it's
you
fun.
did.
Maybe we'll have like crow hats, with like
Yeah.
black crow feathers, so we're
Yeah,
like
there
a
we go.
murder of mavens.
I'm ready for this next mystery to play it a little fast and loose. I don't mind rolling that theorize with like a -2. Like, let's go. Let's do it.
Let's do this.
Let's have fun.
Good.
We got bake-offs to get to. We can't.
Let's
can't-
get some.
I-
Let's
yeah,
get some
I
day
was gonna say
moves,
that's
some
your
night
prep
moves.
for next time. Is spend a little time thinking about pies.
Yeah.
Because
Always.
it's gonna come up. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm ready to play that game a little more recklessly. I think like we played it, our first mystery. I felt like was very safe, very comfortable.
Yeah, we wanted all the clues.
Yeah, I think this next
And
time
we
we're
got
ready
them.
to. Yeah,
Yeah.
I
and a
think
bunch of
next
voice
time we're
clues.
ready to go wild.
Yeah, let's do it.
Do some Jessica Fletcher. I think you did it, and then they can be like, I actually did it.
Right.
That's cute though.
It's like,
But I'm also going to incriminate this other person by saying I didn't do it. So
right.
have fun with
We've
that.
learned a new clue through the accusation.
Right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
be
Yeah.
great.
So that'll be a riotously good time. So join us on Wednesday for that. But either way, we will be back here the following Saturday because we're doing Mass Effect not this Friday, but the following Friday.
Right, because Monday is Shadowrun. Mhm.
Yep, that's right. Okay, excellent. So yeah, folks, we'll be back here on Monday and several days next week to play some games. Come and tune in. As always, have fun and play well.
May all your rolls be crits.